She was just a little girl, only 8 years old, when her world was shaking, when the truth went cold. Her uncle's life was taken, no answers, just pain. And the ones who did it just walked away. But she never forgot, never let it fade. Now she's speaking up for the hearts that break, for the moms, the dads, the kids left behind. She's telling their stories, one case at a time. Cold case crystal, searching through the dark, shining her light, following every spark, turning silence into sound, names into gold, 'cause justice should never go cold. She don't know their faces, but she knows their pain, standing up for the broken again and again. It takes 0 effort to be a good human being. This is cold case crystal, and justice should never go cold.
Hello, everyone. How y'all doing tonight? Before we get started tonight, there is something that I want to do. This is Ferlin Smith. He is a missing person. They've got a golden alert out for him. He was last seen on June the 3rd of 2005 in Artemis, Kentucky. If you see him or you know about his whereabouts, please contact the Knox County Sheriff's Office or 911 if you have any information on the whereabouts of Ferlin. I wish they would have put the number down here, but they didn't. But if you happen to know where he is or have seen him or do see him, you can contact me, because I know him. He was one of my dad's friends, you all, and he is 70 years old. He's 5'10", weighs 175 pounds. He may not know where he is, but the family is very, very worried about him, and I didn't want to start this stream and not share this flyer. I've got it on my community post. If you all don't care, I don't care if you're a creator or if you're not. If you're able to share this onto your social media, I would really, really appreciate it. Okay. Now let me. Okay, and the Big Bear family is supposed to join me, but I haven't heard anything, and anything could have happened. If they are in chat or if they show up, just please remind them that the link to come on panel is at the top of it. I've got it pinned at the top of chat. Hello, Allie. Allie says, "Hey sis, I'm going to listen. We are making dinner and getting some things ready for tomorrow. Love you." I love you too, honey. I hope everything goes okay, and I'm praying for you. Hey, Chatty. Hey, Michelle. And also, if anybody else wants to grab that link, tonight we're going to talk, as you can tell from my little, let me show you. Well, maybe I can't show it like that. Here we go. It's story time. um, if you have a ghost story, an urban legend, or just want to chat, that link's in the top. Tonight's just going to be a chill chat. There's nothing, or live, there's nothing been particularly planned. Chico might want to grab that link because I haven't heard from Big Bear family yet. Also, I do want to share out because, like I said, anything could have happened, you all. But this is the link to their channel. Real laid back, and they just have a real chill chat. There's a couple videos on there about them building out their cabin. My daughter's doing the same thing, so that's how I found their channel. But they're actually local to me. I was hoping they'd be able to be on panel because I wanted to compare some urban legends and ghost stories that maybe both of us had heard. But like I said, this is an open panel tonight. Anybody that might have a anything they want to talk about, just grab that link. So on my other channel, I was talking, and me and Chico got to talking. She was in chat, and I was, well, I just had a live. But anyways, we got off on this subject of seeing things that we couldn't explain. And which last night we talked about it a little bit too. But I think personally, everybody has saw something that they cannot explain. Don't know why. But maybe later on you did. Just like the story, and I think that was last night's live, but just like the story of when my boys passed away and we saw that little ambulance going around in a circle. I think that was to bring me comfort. But I have always heard these tales and always been fascinated by them. But one that stands out the most, I'll start this off like this. One that stands out the most is when I was a little girl, my aunt always talked about a house that my mom and my dad used to live in. And it was an older house. And she was younger than my mom. So she would babysit for my mom. And when my mom would go somewhere or work or what have you. But she was kind of the babysitter. Hey, Kim. And she said that one night they had laid down her, my older brother, and my older sister. And she said she heard something in the hallway. At first, she was afraid to get up. But then thinking that maybe mom and dad had came home, she did. And she said the way the bedroom was, is it was off from the hallway. And she said when she turned, there was a little old lady that was standing there. And she had like this scarf over her head and had an apron on. And she describes her right down to her shoes. And she said she was a little heavy lady and that she was getting jars out of the cabinet that was in the hallway. Well, when my mom comes home, she tells my mom about it. Of course, my mom thinks that she's lost her mind. And then my dad, she ends up telling him about it. And he said that the description that she gave was to another family member's mom that actually used to live in that house to a T. So evidently she liked canning, and that's what she was fooling with in that closet was a bunch of canning jars. But I think we've all, whether we wanted to admit it or not, have seen or heard or know some kind of story. Something that maybe it's a ghost story, maybe it's an urban legend. Um, there is a bridge around here. And back in 1995, I heard this urban legend, and everybody around here calls it Eyeball Bridge. And the reason I know that it was in 1995, my cousin Robin had told me about a bridge, that if you come to this bridge, and it's in Artemis, the same area that Fairland Smith was last seen in, but not saying it has anything to do with that. But she said if you come to this bridge and you turn your lights off, turn them back on, turn them off, turn them back on, turn them off, turn them back on, that you'll see a big eyeball in that bridge. And legend has it that this woman wrecked off the bridge and she was pregnant, and it did damage to that part of her area of her body. So when I was like 15 years old, back in 1995, me and my friends decided we had to see this bridge. We had to know if this was true. So we're on our way to this bridge now. And on the way there, and I reckon that's part of the legend too. So I don't know if this is why this happened or not, that everybody that went to the bridge for that reason, coming or going, had bad luck. Well, on the way to see Eyeball Bridge, I have to say we had bad luck. We flipped over 100-foot bluff and never made it to the bridge. We was a quarter of a mile from the bridge when we wrecked. I swear we got the same bridge in Memphis. See, that is exactly what I'm saying. It's almost like urban legends that's being passed down. But there has to be stuff to them. There has to be something to them, because people in the other parts of the world, y'all talk about ghosts. They have. Kim, you have that story in your area? Okay, see, we have a bridge like that here with the same story. See, that's what I'm saying. Urban legends. And I think people take them on for their own community. Now, did I see an eyeball? No, we didn't make it to the bridge. And after that wreck, I really don't like traveling on that road. But so I never went back. We also have a voodoo village. You don't drive through voodoo village because your car will quit. Soon as you go over the tracks, your car literally dies. Oh my goodness. Have you tried, Chico? Have you tried to go to Voodoo Village? See, when I was younger, just a second, I may be able to verify some of these. Just a second. Okay. And it never fails for Halloween. The kids go through there, and the residents in the area scare the sheep out of those kids. Oh, I'd say they do. Just a second. I'm trying to see what my cousin's doing. Just a minute. Okay, just a second. Oh man. I don't know how I can do it. Give me just a second. Let me see if what she says. Okay. I'm going to send her a link. Give me just a second to get this done. I'm on my cousin. We have now, when I say that we have done some crazy stuff, we've done some crazy stuff, y'all. When I was younger, I did. I was bad for this. There's a hospital in Corbin. It was abandoned. Me and her went there together. I mean, I'm sending her a link. Let me see. Okay. Okay. Let's see here. She's a typing. And okay. She said okay, so she's gonna grab that link. And Miss here, Chico. We pushed that car so MF and fast. Okay, where am I? Chico, you need to grab this link, honey. And it never fails for okay. Chico, I have the car died. Then one of the men that was outside said, okay. Outside said, and his exact words, y'all, this is a game. And then he planned the flashlight over to, oh man, there was no shadow behind the oh man. Oh my goodness. Chico, you definitely need to come up, girl. That's what I'm talking about right there. We thought that was a joke, like an urban legend. But the flashlight part scared the F out of me because it was dark and I'm sorry, you're supposed to have a shadow beside you. Yeah, you need a shadow. Yeah. You if you're missing a shadow, then there's a problem. Now she's not used to panels, but I'll introduce her when she gets up here. I'm helping her fill it out. Okay. I guess I could turn the volume off of this. You just don't want to hear it every time she messages me back. Baby, we was out of that. I'd have left the whole car, Chico. Did you take the car? I had to ask. I'd have left it. Now, there she is. Oh, hello. Can you hear me, Ribbon?
Yep.
Ghost stories. Let me see if she did. Did you connect your mic? You need to give it permission.
I thought it did.
Back in, give it permission, and come back in.
Okay, hold on.
Now there she is.
Can you hear me?
I still can't hear you, sissy.
Okay, I'll go out and back in.
When it asks to give permission, Real just uh, say yes, but you don't have to turn your camera on or anything. Now, it was my.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, just a second. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. You know the problem might not have been you. I just muted my computer so it didn't go ding every time. Okay, girl. I've been telling my chat about some of the crazy things that we have done.
Oh, yeah.
And I figured that you could tell them about Devil's Creek.
Mm. Well, I experienced several things on Devil's Creek, but it was just part of our little ghost hunting that we would do. We would go to Devil's Creek. There was
Okay, pause just a second because I want everybody. This is my first cousin. Her name's Robin. You might hear
hello.
me call her Ribbon. Uh, show her some love in chat. Okay, go ahead, Robin. I forgot to introduce you.
Okay. But Devil's Creek, it was just a thing. We'd go riding around, I guess you would call it. Um, but you would get so far into Devil's Creek, and mind you, you started out on pavement, you ended up on gravel. Um, Most of the time that we went, we never come back out the same way. Um, we would get lost every time we went. Um, there was a graveyard about halfway in, and we got a lot of orbs on camera. There was a gentleman buried there, and apparently he sinned against his religion because he was buried upside down. And you can actually Google it, um, and it had a picture of him on it. There also was an older couple that drove a large SUV, and
I
they
was with
backed
her
us out
this
one time.
Yes, I was with her this time. And the reason I wanted you to tell this story is because if I said this, people might think I'm crazy, but was the trees or were they not burning from the top down?
Yes. And it was rumored that there was a devil worshipping church around where the graveyard was, and like the locals burned it. Um, and that older couple apparently was associated with it, but now they backed us completely out of Devil's Creek because it was a 1 lane road. It was a 1 lane gravel road, and we went to a convenience store uh, right down from it, and they pulled in right beside of us. And it was, I mean, they were an older couple, and it was like a big Bronco that they were driving. But
Yes,
they
it
chased
looked
us
like a
completely
mom
out.
and pop, y'all. It was like grandpa and grandma chasing
Yeah,
us out of that holler.
yeah. And I mean, we had been in there probably a couple of dozen times before that, and it never. We had been told about them because a friend of ours, her father was the chief of police in that area, and he had warned us to stay out of there more than one time.
And we had been in there before thinking, and been to this very same place, mind you, when she says we've been in there before. We didn't think we was in the right holler.
Right. And a lot of times we would go in there, and that's what would happen. We would get so turned around that we would feel like we weren't in the same place. The only thing that was the same is we would eventually find the graveyard, and there was like a little nature made bridge across a little creek. We would always find it, but nothing ever seemed familiar when you were in there. And needless to say, we always went at dark. We never went during the day.
You know, when we went to Butcher Holler the other day and that rock was there, that kind of reminded me of Devil's Creek in a way.
Right there around the graveyard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, another thing, and Robin knows I'm telling the truth on this one. Well, I'll just let you tell it because they listen to me talk all the time. Tell them about when we worked at Thermodisc. Now, mind you, we ain't the same people that we was when we was younger. We did crazy stuff, okay?
Yeah. We had a bad reputation at
We
that
did.
particular job. But we had a friend. She and I were roommates, and she had a homemade Ouija board that she had bought off of a lady years prior. And the guy I was with at the time, it kind of spooked him. He didn't like it. And we were seeing stuff in the apartment. Um, we would be in the hallway, the doorknobs would shake. My two sons were very small. There was a room they wouldn't sleep in. They would always say the bad man's in there. They'd have to sleep in the room with me or somewhere else. One of our friends, we seen him walk down the stairs, go in the downstairs bathroom, and was in the bathroom when we turned around, and he come down the stairs again. And went to the bathroom, and he wasn't in the bathroom. And this guy blamed it on the Ouija board. And he told my friend Joey, he said, "You're going to have to get rid of it." I'm the one took her, and we took it to a dumpster that you would have to have a ladder in order to get in it,
I
because
witnessed this.
she had to step back pretty far and sling it to even get it to go in it. And me and her and Crystal all worked at the same place. And Crystal had quit, had left. And we had lockers as you come in the building to put like your purses and things like that in. Well, when she left, they had to cut the lock off of her locker. And when they
Now,
did,
mind you, before she tells you any more, that I had lost the key. Now, there's a time span in between when she threw that Ouija board away and when I quit.
right?
And I had lost the key to my locker. So I wasn't even using that locker. Nobody could get in that locker.
No.
Okay, continue.
And when they cut the lock off of the locker, the Ouija board was in it.
So I ended up looking like a witch.
Well, still today, Jeff always swore that me and her actually didn't throw it away, because he was there the day that it was found in your locker as well.
And there's no way. The thing about it is there's no way that even Joy could have went back to that dumpster and got that Ouija board and put it in my locker, because I completely locked my own self out.
And I'm the one that I was the driver of the vehicle. She never drove my vehicle. She couldn't have. I mean, we worked together, we lived together. I mean, she was never away from me, away from the apartment or the job long enough to have, if she had a ladder, to been able to have went and got it.
And at this same time, I had a car, and my brother had gave to me, actually. Now I kind of might know why, but I was complaining when I was driving home, because we worked third shift. And I would complain because I'd be like, there's something in that car. And when we would get paid, we would always go to Walmart. Well, this particular payday, we went to Walmart, got some stuff. I put it in the back seat. I'm heading home. And a pack of cigarettes, and I'm not kidding you, got thrown at my head in this car. Well, I told Robin and I told my sister Angie the next day, I said, I hate that car. There's something in that car. And my sister, I quote, said, Crystal, what in the world could be in that car? Now, her vehicle ended up tearing up. And my son had RSV, so I was staying at the hospital with him. She borrowed my car. Robin, what did she do?
She brought it back to you, and never again would she drive it.
And ended up going and buying her a new vehicle because she was not driving my car.
No. And all this was happening around the same time. What was going on in the apartment, your car, the Ouija board, everything. And one night, Joey and our friend Robert and some of them were going ghost hunting. They were probably going to Devil's Creek. And we didn't. We were getting ready to leave. And Jeff just, I mean, as we opened the door, he said, whatever you are, whoever you are, go with them. And he said it in anger because it was driving him crazy, all the stupid little stuff that was happening in the apartment. Well, that night, as we were at Woods Creek Lake, is where we were at, and we were taking pictures, and someone had snapped a picture with the window rolled up. And when we had that, this is back before you didn't have digital, you couldn't upload it on Facebook or anything like that. You had to go have it actually developed. And when we got those pictures back, in that window of that vehicle, there is a man's face. And I still say that when he done that, whatever it was, went with us because we had no more problems at the apartment.
It completely
But he still says Joey brought it with the Ouija board, whatever it was.
And I'm not saying that ain't exactly what happened. I think a big majority of the reason that we were having all of our issues was because we were all about that. If it was paranormal, we wanted to find it.
Oh, yes.
And then that's a big reason I say I'm fool with these people on YouTube that's reading tarot cards and stuff, because I know what that can bring into your life. But now it sure caused us havoc, because it may sound like this happened within a week span, but no, we were everyone seeing things at our own homes. We were everyone experiencing things for what, Robin, maybe 6 months?
Right at it.
It was the whole time you were in at TNK Apartments.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah, because we didn't live there long after that happened with the picture. We weren't there very much longer.
And I mean, me and Robin's got stories for days because, we've done some crazy things. But
we had a place we called the Bad Place out in Somerset that we would go to, and there was a rock building, and we called it a hobo house because you would find where like homeless people, like food containers and things like that. And we went one time, and as we walked through the little entryway, everything in that building, paper plates, newspapers, whatever it was on the floor of that building was flying around in the air, just like a tornado was inside the building. You talk about some girls hightailing it.
And there was one night that, because some of us had been to the Old Corbin Hospital, when you went in, and what was weird is this hospital was on the top of a mountain, y'all. It was on top of the hill in the middle of a town. And if you went into the basement, it was kind of like flooded. But
Yeah.
some of the neatest graffiti that you ever saw was inside that building. And then one of the example of the graffiti was a picture of a stretcher, a hand coming from the bottom of it, and a hand reaching down from the top. But the biggest cat that you ever laid your eyes on, the size of a dog, was always there. Am I wrong, Robin?
No.
One night and then it got to where they kind of chained everything up and you couldn't go on the inside of it. I guess because
Of
it
the
was
flooding.
it was getting dangerous too. And this hospital looked like they just got their patients and left.
Yep.
You could find about anything in that hospital. They left beds and everything.
And it was the last hospital in this area that still done electric shock therapy.
Yes. Yes. And our aunt actually was in that hospital for
And
that
actually had
reason.
electric shock therapy.
Yes. One night after work, a couple people that was with us had not heard about this, and they were skeptics. So we decided we was going to drive around and just show them the hospital itself. And when you come up on the hill, you can see like what you would call the north end of the hospital, but you have to go behind it in order to turn around. Well, when we come up the hill, it looked like a man was standing in the window. It was plain as day. Now get this. It wasn't a reflection because these windows were knocked out.
Right.
And then we turned around, and when we was turning around, which would have been impossible to travel on foot that fast, he was in the back of it. It was like a while back in time with those newspapers, probably. Yeah, Chico, honey, you come up here and join us. You got some stories too. But another event that we had, but now I was a young girl when this happened. Robin's brother was just small, and none of us, with the exception of my brother, but he can't even remember him, got to see our papa. He had passed away before we all were even born, with the exception of my brother David. And we were having a cookout, and we lived right beside my grandma. And Jason was on the inside of Mama's house, and we were down by where we lived having the cookout. And I can remember, and I was real young at the time. So, but they were worried that Jason had woke up. Well, I was all for that because me and him was close in age anyway.
And all the big girls wanted to make him into a baby doll, and we was all about getting him to feed him.
Yeah. Well, I went in there to see if he had woke up. And when I went in there, I saw a man standing over the where he was laying. He had a white shirt on, dress pants, and like a brown hat. Well, I came back and tell my mom and my aunt, I said, don't go worry about Jason. There's a man in there with him. Now, you got to understand there was only one way in. There was no other way out, and we were all on the outside. When they went in there, nobody was in there. But when I described him, this man that I saw, my mom said it was identical to what my papa was buried in.
Yeah.
Michelle says hospitals are creepy, especially ones that have been closed down.
We've been in two.
Well, we actually let the local college and it wasn't something that they were doing. They just kind of opened it up for us.
A friend of ours knew the security guard.
Lock us in so we could try to find our way out of it. And as many times when it was open that we had been in there, everyone had a hard time getting out.
And you got a creepy feeling in certain areas of it. especially back in the morgue and like the infant like ICU, and they was still like machines and things like where they drain the blood in the morgue.
My niece, my niece went with us. She's been on this channel before too, but my niece went with us, and she found a little paper and brought it back with her. And my sister-in-law went off. She was like, "Don't you bring nothing back here to bring something with you. It attached itself to it." But now, one thing I have to say, it was creepy on the inside, but it didn't scare me. And my house, I mean, that's a whole different ball game, is it not, Robin?
Oh
My
yeah,
house is loud, but it's not scary.
and children enjoy themselves at Crystal's even if there's no other kids there.
Yes, they do.
My granddaughter, that when she was small, she's 4 now. A couple of years ago, you would find her in one of the other rooms. I mean, playing with someone.
Playing up a storm.
Yeah.
Now, and shortly after my boys passed, my nephew was just a week older than Ethan.
And that's
And
my granddaughter's daddy.
yes, and um, he was playing, and my mom sat down on the swing and had her coffee, and he said, "No, no, Mama," said, "You were going to burn him." And she said, "Burn who?" He said, "Ethan's sitting there." Now, I'm a firm believer. I think kids see stuff that we don't.
Oh yeah,
They're
and
innocent.
animals do too.
Oh yeah.
A friend of mine's, the one that's dad was the chief of police in that town. She had a basset hound, and her uncle had committed suicide in the basement of that house, and she had an apartment built in the basement, and that dog would act like it was chasing a toy and all kinds of stuff all the time, and would look up at the beams uh, in the room, and apparently that one of them was where he had hung himself, and would bark and get all excited, and she swore that that was her uncle playing with that dog.
Can you see chat, Robin?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Chico says, speaking of kids, y'all heard of Georgia Tan? I haven't.
No.
I'm telling you, Chico, honey, you need to come up here and join us. Hold it down right quick, Robin. Tell them another story or something that we've experienced. I'm gonna go in here and get me a water and check on the babies.
Okay. Now there was an incident in my house. My house was old, but I believe my grandmother, my dad's mom, I believe her spirit follows me because there was a night. It was nothing for Crystal to show up at my house at 1 o'clock in the morning, and she had showed up, and my longtime friend, she had showed up, and they were both hungry. And Crystal is lactose intolerant, and she was eating macaroni and cheese, and we had went into another room where my computer was at, and that was just when there was a forum online called Topics, and we were on there gossiping, and someone needed something to drink, so I went to the kitchen and turned the light on, and the light flickered and went off, and I just come back to them, and I told them what had happened. So we walked to the kitchen, and I had an apron that belonged to my dad's mom, and we called her Big Mommy, that had belonged to her, hanging on a hook in my kitchen. And when we flipped the light on, it actually came on, and the apron was laid out across my washer. And I knew exactly what she meant. I'm like, all right, I'm cooking. So I put the apron on and I fixed bacon and eggs and toast and I fed them. But it was just like she was telling me, Crystal, eating those macaronis and cheese is not enough. But I believe she follows me wherever I go. I believe she watches over me.
Big Mom was telling you to feed little Whistle.
Yeah.
Her grandma on her dad's side was like a grandma to me. The only grandparent that I ever knew was my mom's mom. The
And
rest of
her and
our,
my dad's mom were real close.
yes.
They were like sisters, even though they were just in laws.
To the point the hospital one time, they both got admitted into the hospital at the same time. And they
And it was
put them in the
before private
same room.
rooms.
It was horrible. They ran us to death. What you did for one, you had to do for the other. It was hard, wasn't it, Rob?
Oh, yeah.
But those was good old days. I've been talking a lot on my channel lately about how things have changed. And we were those kids that stayed up into the mountains. And I'm
Oh,
just going to
yes.
tell you, if
We had a water spring that we chased all of our life, trying to find the end of it, and never did.
we sure did. We sure did.
And now
And
I wouldn't let the grandbabies out in the yard by themselves.
see,
Much
that's
less go
one.
to the mountains.
Well, now you can't let kids in the mountain. They would never come back. Kids go missing too much. Robin, did you know Fairland's missing?
Who?
Fairland Smith, Alvin's brother.
Really?
He hasn't been seen since June, I think, the 3rd.
I know what's happened to him. He does bad things. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I'd say he's.
I hate that.
I'd say he's ripped somebody off. I hate it too.
I hope that's not the case.
As much as I didn't like him, I wouldn't want something to happen to him.
Me either. Hey, Chico.
He got up in Daryl's face one time and disrespected him. And I told him to leave and not come back. And about 3 weeks later, he pulled up in the driveway and he told Daryl, he said, "You think it's safe for me to come in?" Daryl said, "No, she don't forget nothing." He said, "You might as well stay in the car."
Chico, this is my cousin Robin. Robin, this is my friend Chico.
Hey, Robin. How are you?
Fine. How are you?
Oh, I can't complain. It ain't gonna do no good, and ain't nobody gonna listen because we all got problems.
Okay, girl. You gonna have to tell us about this Georgia tan.
That lady was pure evil. When I say pure evil, I do mean pure evil. It started out, she was a social worker for surprise kids.
Oh my God.
She ended up trafficking said kids. She has a manor here in Memphis that they have turned into a museum. And to this day, that manor is haunted. You still hear kids laughing. You hear kids crying. You'll see stuff move. And they said what she did to those kids. And I'm not going to go into details, so don't ask. But y'all can use y'all imagination. She hurt those kids.
Oh, wow.
Was this like when? Give it. Do you know about the general
1900s?
Ooh,
Miss Chico, where you from?
Memphis, Tennessee.
Woo.
But yeah, she still has a manor here that they've restored all types of stuff.
Crystal, we may have to make a road trip.
a road trip. We've done that time.
But yeah, if y'all come here, I believe it's still open. I think it's out there in Midtown though. It's a huge manor, but they said what she did to kids, and you can look her up, Georgia Tan. There's people that have wrote books on her and all type of stuff, and a lot of the stuff that you will read is true.
Oh my!
That is pure evil.
It is.
I've been trying to get a bunch of these in chat, cough, cough, Michelle and Allie, to go to Waverly Hills.
I'm game if anybody else is.
Girl, I've been
Okay.
game for 2 years.
So what's the history on Waverly Hills?
Okay.
It was a tuberculosis hospital during an outbreak.
It's located on a mountain in Louisville, Kentucky. And
And
it
there were
was
so many that were dying there that they had a body chute, and they would just send them down that chute, and they would pile up, and they would burn them.
because back then they were scared that if they took the bodies with the blood in them back to town, that it
People
would
would
spread
get-
the disease.
Yeah,
And when people worked there, they usually lived on the property because they didn't want said people to come back to town either. And they was a nurse that got pregnant, and she thought that she was passing it on to her baby, so she hung herself in a elevator shaft.
Oh my God.
It for a long time was open. I mean, it's allegedly more people died inside of Waverly Hills than anywhere else in Kentucky.
yeah.
And possibly the United States. But homeless people that would go in there afterwards. One man died in there. His dog died in there. Back in, I think it was like 2012, 2013, somewhere around through there, when Ghost Hunters was a big deal on TV, they went there and did a like a 2-hour special. And they saw apparitions, balls moved. I mean, and I know it's a show, but
But that's
now,
considered one of the most haunted places in the United States.
yeah,
You know what though? Most former hospitals, psych wards and asylums that have closed. Because I know there's one. I want to say Pennsylvania. It's one up north that is real known, and I cannot think of the name right now. They say that one is so haunted. There was one where I remember they ended up closing it down, and they supposedly did a final check to make sure they got everybody out, but they forgot this one elderly woman, and she literally curled up in a ball and passed there. And to
oh,
this day, her stain is still in that floor.
Oh wow.
oh man. Well,
And
now,
they say if you walk past it, you'll see her in the window from time to time.
now they will let you. Michelle could probably drop more information
In
about it
her,
because she's
thank
checked on
you,
it.
Flies. Thank you. I knew I wanted to say
Pinhurst.
Pinhurst, but I wasn't
Yeah.
100% sure. Thank you, Flies. That's exactly Pinhurst. Yes, there was an old woman that they forgot and left, and her stain is still in that floor.
Mm.
Do you know how scary that would be? Now, one of the things I think that makes these older hospitals so scary is all the experiments that they tried on people. Like
Mm-hmm.
like me and Robin was talking a minute ago. Well, she's dropped. Maybe she'll come back. Robin, if you're listening, you can use the same link to come back. But anyways, our aunt, like they did electric shock on her. And
Mm-hmm. And lobotomy.
then, yes. And let me tell her she used, okay, there she is.
Sorry, guys.
You wanting your camera on? You can turn it off at the bottom, Rib.
Off at the bottom. I had a Matthew. He wasn't going to shut up. I had to answer him.
Oh,
Like he couldn't walk up the stairs, but you know.
but one thing about Waverly is they would literally take out pieces of people's lung trying to cure the illness. And some of the things that they did were directly against tuberculosis because they believed fresh air, no matter what time of the year it was the best thing for tuberculosis. So they had these balconies and they would roll people out there no matter what the temperatures was, and they would sit on these cold balconies, sunshine, snow, you name it. You ladies hold it down. I got a baby crying. I gotta go check on her. She's probably lost the bottle.
I remember the hyperbaric chambers, the iron lungs that they made for TV
Uh-huh.
folks. I don't think I would be able to go in that, honestly, if I had TV. Like,
No.
just let me pass. Just let me go, cause
And I think about that with Waverly Hills. Just imagine all the people that probably were begging for them to just let them.
yes. I'm like, could you imagine being trapped in your body and you can't say what you want to say?
Right, right. I've worked. I've worked in a couple of nursing homes and had residents that couldn't. They were nonverbal,
Uh
and
huh.
and I would think about that like when I had to bathe them or change them or anything like that because I know how I would be. So I
Yep.
could imagine, they're probably like, I wish they just leave me alone. Just not.
I could only imagine because I like that one case of the girl that she she couldn't talk. I want to say they were saying she had locked in syndrome,
Uh huh.
and she ended up pregnant, and it was by one of the unfortunately not nurses but CPNs.
Mm
He had been SAing her for a
hmm.
while
Oh,
before
man.
she ended up
Uh,
pregnant, and of course it was all over the news, and I'm not laughing like at the situation. It was just like it
the
went
sick people
viral.
in the world.
Right.
Mm-mm-mm.
And it's just sad stuff like that still goes on to this day
Right,
because that was just
right.
a few years ago.
Yeah. I
How
was going
bad?
to tell. I was going to tell April or Crystal. I'm thinking of her sister. I was going to tell her we've got a golden alert out of Williamsburg right now.
Who is it?
Um, I can't remember the name. I think his last name may be Johnson, but he's like 30 some years old.
If you see it, send it to me and I'll share it.
Well, and the little guy from Tennessee um, that ended up in Bell County, he wasn't stopped for police and ended up at the red lights right there at the high school. And they finally got him stopped. And all he was doing was trying to find a hospital. He was
Oh
sick.
my good. Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
man.
Yeah. So he had family on their way when they finally, located him, and they ended up taking him to the hospital. The rescue squad and stuff went by the house last night,
Mm.
but they had a golden alert out for him too.
I told the story about Eyeball Bridge, and there are several people in the chat that has that same story in their area.
What is it?
Eyeball Bridge.
Oh,
Oh
And
yeah.
I'm wondering how many of our urban legends are in everyone's county. Now, I'm pretty sure that the Martin sisters
probably
aren't in.
isn't. I'd say they're not.
Yeah, because that's pretty secluded to this area.
Yeah.
There was these sisters that lived like right up the road from where I live now. But
They believed in reincarnation,
yes, and
and they
with
thought their
actually
family come
school
back
teachers.
in dogs.
And if anybody believes in that, I mean, we're not knocking it. But
No.
then they moved to town, and because they believed in reincarnation, every dog that came around their house, they kept it. They thought it was family members. And one of the sisters, actually, wasn't it Mange, Robin?
Yeah, she ended up with mange in her bloodstream.
And died on the front porch. Well, the neighbors noticed, yes, the neighbors noticed that she hadn't moved. And on my other channel, I actually go to their tomb, but they had noticed that she had not moved. So they called the law. And when the law got there, the other two sisters said, "What you fooling with her for? She ain't hurt nobody." And so when they buried her in the family crypt, and they hooked a telephone up. And at night they would
And put a
call.
chair next to it.
Yeah, they put a chair next to it and furniture and all that good stuff. But at night they would call that tomb to see if their loved one had come back. Well, it got so aggravating that the nearby trailer park complained, and the county had to actually take the telephone out of the crypt. Because, of course, if there's a phone going off in a graveyard at midnight, you got all kinds of people wanting to come around and hear it.
Yeah, I would have a whole problem with that. Why? Who thought of putting a phone in the graveyard? I would have a whole problem with that. I ain't gonna lie.
And I mean, they were making you comfortable to talk to them. They had a chair sitting by it and everything.
Mm-hmm.
The chair's still in there.
Yeah. And you can actually see the chair is still in there from my video. Isn't there some urban legend having to do with headlights? I can't remember. Now, Eyeball Bridge
Where
has to
you
do with
has
headlights.
something to do with where you swerve or the lights swerve at you.
I know the one in the woods with the lights. Like, you see it, what looks like headlights, and when you're trying to get up to it, and it happens a lot with people that are missing on the trail or lost on the trail,
Uh-huh.
and they're trying to get back to their route, and they'll see headlights. And they're trying to get to the headlights, but they realize the closer they get,
The farther away it gets.
uh-huh.
Now, the one I'm talking about, I believe you swerve for the headlights, and if you stop, you end up with a.
I think she cut out. But
Yeah.
now, hey, Dutchie.
But that's only one I know with the headlight. I mean, besides like the bridge stuff. Now, our bridge story is a lady who threw her baby over the bridge, and she still goes to the bridge and look for it at night.
Now, Robin has actually got a picture that looks like a woman on water.
That's at Woods Creek. That was took at Woods Creek Lake.
And you can see a baby in that woman's stomach.
Yeah, and it's like she's got a long dress, and it's kind of got like a flow to it into the water.
Like one of them old nightgowns, like the white, silk nightgowns.
You can see
Yep.
through it, and you can
Yes.
see like a baby.
Yep. Yep. The one we heard though is like she threw her baby over the bridge, and then she committed,
Right.
and she still, yeah, and she still comes back to the bridge to see if she can find her baby.
Well, there there's a place in the county next to us, and it's called Cotton Bend. And everybody says that if you, and I know everybody has this urban legend somewhere around, but if you go on a rainy night,
Right.
and
That's the one I was thinking of.
then a woman will get in the car with you and ride to the end of the curve where the street light is. Well, one weekend, and my first husband, he was cowardly, but especially when it comes to stuff like that. But one weekend, we all decided we was going to load up into this little geo prism and go to Cotton Bend and see if we could see that woman. It was me, my cousin Melissa, my ex, and my cousin Melissa's boyfriend, and her cousin Wendell. So, Robin, you know right off this was a wild trip. Wendell was there. Well, she's disappeared again. But so anyways, we all load up in this little red Geo Prism, and if y'all know what I'm talking about, it's a very, very small car. We were like sardines at first place. And it was raining outside, so rolling the windows down at that particular moment was not an option. And just to be honest with you, a couple of us was I wasn't in that list at that time, but a couple of us was a little on the heavy side, so we were scrunched in there. And my ex was driving. I was like leaning on the little console thing that's in the middle of the bucket seats. And my cousin was sitting beside me, and she had long hair at that time. And in the back was her boyfriend and her cousin. Well, we had rode around looking for this woman, just waiting for her to get in the car with us. And it come to a point that we kindly, well, first of all, it quit raining. We didn't know, again, if we was on the right road. Turns out we was. But when it quit raining, we rolled our windows down. So that's 4 windows down in this little Geo Prism. And remember how we were seated in the front. Well, because we had not saw anything, we done come to the conclusion that it was all a big lie, that we wasn't going to see no woman get in the car with us or anything like that. So Wendell takes from the back window and reaches his arm out that window and into the front window and pulls my cousin's hair. When he does that, she freaks out because I guess she just done knew that this lady got in the car with us. And she screams. I thought the lady had done got in the car with us because she was screaming. So I screamed. And when I screamed, my ex got real scared, let go of the doggone steering wheel. And this is a curvy road, and goes for the door. But the night that we went looking for the lady that gets in the car with you, the only thing that got in the car with us was a few wet bloomers, because that scared us to death. But what scared me even more was I thought we was going to wreck, because
That might talk shit about y'all. That might got go.
yeah, he was going to exit the vehicle, you all. I ain't kidding. He done let go of the steering wheel and was reaching for the door when Wendell started hollering, "It's me." They ain't no woman back here. But, and on that note, there was another time my brother told me about this. Right up above where I live, we had heard our whole life that if you go up there on a full moon and you holler, "Oh, Mabel, come out tonight," that this woman will emerge from the grave. That's what we heard. Well, my brother is as bad as me when it goes to looking for scary stuff.
See.
And the guy that had told the story so much, his name was Cleveland, but everybody called him Clee. And my brother had went up there and laid down behind that tombstone before everybody else could come. They decided they were all going to go up there and see if this tale that Clee had been told was, if it was a fact. So they waited till dark. Bub goes up there, gets him a sheet, lays down behind this tombstone that this woman's supposed to come out of. And Roger and Tony, two other cousins, get Clee and go up there, and they tell him that day that chickened out. Well, Clee's being real big and brave. He hollers out real loud, oh, Mabel, come out tonight. Well, when he did, my brother come up from the back of that tombstone with that sheet over his head and said, what do you want? And said that he just said Clee took off that cemetery. And he said, I was right behind him saying, it's me, Clee, it's me. And said, the more I hollered, the faster he went. Everyone had to run out of that holler because David had went and scared the tar out of Cleveland.
See, we would have had an issue, Crystal. Somebody would have caught a left piece and a right piece, okay? They would have caught a 2-piece, okay? Because we're not playing those games.
Now, my brother would walk, well, he literally did that night, would walk a mile. I guess this is where it comes from. My little ghost adventures when I was younger. Because he would walk a country mile just to scare the tar out of you. And being his sister, I was no exception. Robin, she'll be back up in a minute. She just messaged me. But she was no exception. Now, the problem with this is on the weekends, Robin's mom and dad, my mom and dad, my other cousins' moms and dad, they all gathered at our house. And who was we left with? The oldest kid. Who was the oldest kid? My brother, who loves to scare the tar out of people. Prime example. If anybody has watched Friday the 13th and knows the part where the axe goes into Jason's head, back in the old days when I was growing up, that was on VHS. So if you push the play button just right, you could get slow mode on that. And he tortured us with that. He would play it over and over. Well, on one event, we had a dresser that was in the hallway. It was like made into the wall. On one event, me and Robin, her sister Tanya, my sister Angie, my little sister wasn't even born yet, and two other cousins were there, and it was his babysitting night. And he put Reynolds wrap around his head and made 2 holes where the eyes go, and went to all the windows on the trailer that we lived in and beat on them. Now, we knew in our heart of hearts that it was him. Did that stop every one of us from climbing into that wardrobe? No, it didn't. So that's the reason I think that my whole life I've went ghost hunting or whatever, because at an early age, he would just scare the piss out of you.
We would have been jacking. I ain't gonna lie to me and my brother would have been jacking.
My bub took a many of a lick and would laugh his head off at us. Of course, he was a lot bigger than us, and he was a brute. That was his nickname. His nickname was Brute. And after that, it was Warrior, because he always had a Warrior 4-wheeler. But first, it was Brute. And he'd just he'd take his hits and scare you some more. He lived for it. And like I said, we wasn't no exception. His friends that was the same age as him, he done them the same way. And my cousin Otis, which was my Uncle Ball that I covered his case on here, at one point he practically moved in with us. And if mom ran out something, she would have us kids go to Mama's, which you had to cross a little bridge to get over there. And if Mama ran out of something, she'd send over to mom's. But you know how family does. This particular night, my mommy sent Otis over there to get some flour. And my brother saw Otis go across that bridge. So he did nothing. I mean, and it's dark at this time, okay? Like right around about 10 o'clock. I think Mama might have been making flour bread. I don't know. But he went and laid underneath that bridge. And when Otis come back across, you know, just strutting like nothing could bother him, David reaches up from under that bridge and grabs him by the foot. Well, of course, we knew that David was going to scare Otis, so we was all on the porch waiting for it. He screamed like a girl. I ain't kidding. He did the same thing Cleveland did, except he was screaming the whole way. Done thought something got him.
Y'all was traumatizing each other, and for what?
I'm telling you, honey, we was a different generation. I would never, never leave my kids with a older sibling now like that. Because when I say older, he's just 8 years older than I am.
That's about the same with me and my siblings. I'm 7 years, and between me and the youngest, it's 14-year difference.
We've always did stuff like that. And there was sometimes when we were younger that we scared each other. One would think they saw something, and before you knew it, all 7 of us done went and saw it. We knew it too. The Big Bear family. Welcome.
Hello, guys. I'm sorry I'm late.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. I said it's a Sunday. Something could have came up. I've put the link in the description. This is the Big Bear family. We've been talking about urban legends and ghost stories, kind of comparing them. And I was real curious to see, have you heard any, because you're from my area, have you heard any urban legends about around here? And have you heard about the Morton sisters?
You've heard the Morton sisters? Mm-hmm. And we ain't heard the Morton sisters, but they ain't good urban legends. You know of any, though? Mm-hmm. Daniel Boone's not urban, honey. That's a true story. Let's see. I'll have to think about that for a while, because I've got tales of family history. It's like
ghost stories.
It's kind of like a ghost story, I guess you'd say. But I had a great grandfather. His name was Billy Goat John, and his wife, my great grandmother, her name was Lizabelle. She was blind. And let's just say Billy Goat John wasn't too good to her. So she would pray all the time that God would take care of him and make him quit being so mean. Well, one night he was laying in the bed, and she had gotten ready and got beside him. All of a sudden, he just lifted up out of the bed and was thrown from wall to ceiling to floor and was beat ragged. And she started praying, said, "Lord, let your angel be merciful on him." And the angel dropped him back in bed. And from that point on, Billy Goat John never was mean to her. Let's just say that.
Well, now I've got a similar story in my family. My grandma, her sister was married to a mean man. He would cheat on her. And I reckon after she passed away, and my granny was, I mean, y'all, my granny told me something. I believed it because I never knew the woman to say even a bathroom word, okay? But she said after that lady passed away, and her name was Ellen, he still was a wandering man. So he would date one woman right after another one. And every woman that he dated said when they would get in bed at night, that it felt, because they used to sleep on these feather mattresses, said it would just sink down right next to them. So they were scared off. Well, there was a woman that was tough as nails, and everybody called her Big Martha. And they said that he started dating Big Martha, and everybody was saying, they ain't no way that she'll run off Big Martha. But I reckon Big Martha ran too, because she said when they got in the bed at night, he would get in, she would get in, and something would get right beside her. And everybody swore that was his first wife that he treated like crap.
Wow.
Well,
You
I
got a
believe it.
similar one, Chico?
Not on that. No, not in my family. Although we got some POSs in my family. Not to say we don't, because we do. I'm just telling you, we do.
Now, have you heard about Eyeball Bridge in Artemis?
You ever heard of that in Artemis?
Mm-mm.
I haven't, no.
I was telling the chat earlier, I'd heard my cousin had originally told me, but I had heard it my whole life that, you know, that bridge, Artemis Bridge?
Yeah.
The old one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That on a rainy night, if you go to the edge of Artemis Bridge and flash your lights on and off 3 times, there's an eyeball in the middle of it. Now, I was young, I was 15 years old, and on the way to that bridge, we wrecked, which was part of the urban legend that we had always heard about that bridge, was that you had bad luck if you went there looking for the eyeball. But that bridge in itself to me is spooky. I mean, I don't think they ought to be driving too much across that bridge, but now that was an experience that I had, because I know that part of the urban legend was if you went either there or on the way back, you would have bad luck, and not just go to the bridge if you went looking for the eyeball. And we wrecked on the way there.
Wow.
And
I better not go try it then. I was going to tell Dora we might go try to see if we can see the eye, but if I wreck, I don't want to do that.
I was 15 years old, and on the way there, we went over we were coming in through Cotton Bend. Have you ever been up Cotton Bend? Not Cotton Bend, but Davis Bend.
I've heard of it.
I've heard of it, yeah.
There's a big old horseshoe curve up there, and which we were young enough to know good that day anyway. But the tie rod fell out of the car, and we went over the hill instead of around that curve.
Oh.
They've got a guardrail up there now. But now with the Martin sisters, now this is something that you could actually go look at. You know where Barville Cemetery is?
Yep.
There's a tomb, and it's labeled Martins in there.
Mhm.
But it was 3 women. They believed in reincarnation, the short story. They believed in reincarnation. They were keeping all the strays that came to their house. They actually used to live above me, but then back in the day, they moved to town. But
I know
one
who
of the
she's talking
ladies
about.
caught mange. Now, they were school teachers in the county, too. And one of the ladies caught mange, and it got in her blood system, and she passed away on the porch. Well, when the law came, because the neighbors noticed she had been on the porch for a long time, like a couple of days, the sisters asked, "What in the world are you fooling with her for? She ain't did nothing to nobody." Well, when they buried her in the family crypt, which is in Barville Cemetery. And they put a chair in there and hooked the telephone up. And every night they would call to see if she had came back. And it caused such a disturbance because people would come to that crypt to hear the phone ring that the county took the phone out.
Wow.
But the chair is still in there. You can tell. I mean, it's right in the middle of Barville Cemetery. You have to go look at that sometime.
We're going to have to go check that out. That would be cool.
Now,
We
my
can do
brother, actually, my brother is 8 years older than me. So, Miss here. He's 54 now. So, he actually had one of the Martin sisters as a teacher.
So was she weird? Like, did the students get icky vibes from her?
Well, from what I can tell, mostly it was a icky smell, but not an icky vibe. Now, she is the teacher that my brother had when he got poked close to his eye with that pencil. And they, my daddy ended up pulling the principal out of the shower.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But that was the teacher that he had when that happened. But now she used to teach at Girdler.
That's wild, man. But then again, I mean, whatever. That's wild, though.
Now, I'm trying to think of an. Robin's supposed to come back up, but anyway, trying to think of a somewhere else here around town that kind of an urban legend. I know in Tennessee you got the people in the mountain. Hey, Becca. I see a familiar face. The Bears. Yes, and mods, I've dropped this link. I'm gonna put it in Discord. If you all don't care, continue to drop that link to their channel.
Hi, Becca.
I put it in the mods chat, y'all.
For a minute. I don't know where my tripod's at. I'm going to sit it down.
I don't know. I know Memphis has a lot. When I say a lot of urban legends, a lot.
Tell us one, Chico.
Like the old 55 bridge, which is the old bridge coming across from Arkansas. They say that is haunted because we had a young man killed out there. Well, of course, we've had quite a few deaths on that bridge, both bridge actually. But they say at night you can see an apparition walking across the bridge. And they also say we have tunnels all through Memphis, which some of that I can confirm we actually do have tunnels. They were built there for strictly MLG&W, which is Memphis Light Gas and Robbery. They it's very restricted access, but if you know how to get into them, you can. And people that have been down there, from what I've heard, because I've never been down there because that's Fed property, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to jail just for a ghost adventure. So,
Oh,
yeah,
no.
yeah, Memphis Light Gas and Water. When you get on their property, that's Fed. That's considered Fed. So, I'm just if you come to Memphis trying to look for them, understand that is Fed property once you hit those tunnels, because that does belong to Memphis, like Gas and Water.
Well, I don't know if y'all know about the tunnel in between Kentucky and Tennessee, but it's rumored.
Oh, I've heard about that tunnel. I've heard truck drivers tell me about that tunnel. You know, I hire fire truck drivers. I've had truck drivers tell me about that tunnel.
Now, you know I'm married to a truck driver. So I had to ask, and because the speculation with the tunnel was that they put weapons in there when they were building the tunnel. Now, I don't know if that's true. That speculation completely. If you ever drove over the old road, you kind of understand why they had the tunnel in the first place. The old road was dangerous. But it does have all the hazmats pulled to the side, and not all tunnels do that.
So
But,
I'm having
my husband said that if they're carrying hazardous material, because that tunnel is so long, they have them escorted in there through there, because if it blew up, it would. I mean, you've got all that mountain on top of it. But because of the length is why the hazmat is there. But not all tunnels have a hazmat where they have to be escorted through.
Can we just say, I think a lot of major cities and interstate highway locations like Tennessee, of course, Kentucky, I think all of us got tunnels. Because I know for a fact, like Los Angeles has tunnels, New York City has tunnels, Baltimore, Philly.
Becca says, Eureka Springs, Arkansas, the hotel there is haunted. I have never been in that hotel and not felt like there is something there. I'm very receptive, and I'm now there is some places that I've been that just Boston has tunnels uh, that I
Yeah.
just didn't feel comfortable with. I mean, now I'll tell you a documentary that I've watched that always, for some reason, and now y'all, I can watch scary movies, everything under the sun, but that Elisa Lamb documentary about the Cecil Motel, for some reason, there is just something creepy about that documentary.
That's how I feel about what is it? What was the family here in Tennessee? It wasn't Memphis though. It was like Middle 10. Uh Bell Witch.
Oh, the Bell Witch. Yes, yes. Heard about that one.
Yeah, like that's another one that all of Tennessee, everybody talks about that one. We had another, well, we got one here in Memphis at Overton Park, which is, if you're familiar with Overton Park, then you know that's our zoo. That's the one of the main parks in Memphis, and that's one of the parks that people are most attracted to because you have a golf course, you have the zoo, we have the Shell, which they hold concerts there. They hold Pride there. They do so much at Overton Park. But in the 60s, a woman, because they have a pond out there in Overton Park, and a woman was walking through there at night, and supposedly a man, ran up down on her, raped her, and unalived her. And now at night she walks the pond.
Oh my goodness. Oh, see, now that gives me eerie.
Yeah, I,
Like,
I I haven't seen it myself because I've worked numerous times in Overton Park, working at the Shell, doing concerts. Because I've told y'all, like, I'm a local roadie, so I'll do that from time to time. And I've never experienced it, but some people have. They said they have seen her. So
now there is a cemetery. Well, it's the cemetery that my uncle was murdered on, Nan Riley. There is a grave up there that is two slabs of rock And this person was not buried like, say, you and I. The rock was just lapped over. So for the longest time, you could look down in there and see the skeleton. And when my uncle was murdered, my dad actually put his hand down in that grave to see if he could feel for uh, the whipping. I was trying to find a good word for it, but till this day, you can still. I mean, it's still kind of open, but they have actually put a little dirt on the inside so that you don't see it. But now that graveyard gives me the creeps. But I don't know if it gives me the creeps because of my uncle or if it's just a creepy vibe altogether.
Yeah. I don't know. Like some of the places that they claim is haunted in Memphis, I've worked at, like the Orpheum. One lady fell off the balcony to her death, which is a very steep drop. Trust me, I've worked at locations so many times, and it is a major fall if you fall. And at night they say she roams, the hallways and stuff. But I've spoken to the director because she's usually the one who we have to work with when we, do concerts and stuff out there. And she said there's a total of 8 ghosts out there, actually.
Oh,
I
Becca,
know when. Huh?
Becca asked a good question. I'm going to show this right quick because, again, this is Fairland Smith. He's missing. He was last seen on June the 3rd of 2025 in Artemis, Kentucky. He's 175 pounds. He's 70 years old. He's 5'10", and there is a golden alert out. I know him, so it don't got the phone number. But if you know anything about his whereabouts, please contact the Knox County Sheriff's Office or get up with me because I know the family. Becca asked in chat, hello, Jason. Who do you think killed JonBenet Ramsey? Just curious if you ever discussed that and about Madeleine McCain. Now, I do got a unpopular theory on the JonBenet Ramsey. Now, for a long time, I was like everybody else, and I was like, well, those parents act suspicious. But if you know me, I don't accuse parents without facts. But after seeing the Golden State Killer and finding out that he was able to go into these people's homes and hide and get as much information on them and then would kill them in their home, you've got to also wonder about with JonBenet, because Patsy Ramsey gave tours of her house at Christmas time. It was huge. So I think that it is very likely that somebody could have hid in that house. Now, there is some things about that case that kind of throws up red flags, just like everybody else. Like okay, the house being searched, then the dad goes straight to JonBenet's body. But I think that the police fouled that case up so bad that it will probably never be solved because everybody was in that house.
Thank you, because I was just about to say that. Let's just say Ellie messed that case up so bad that family never will get justice.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think there was a family friend that was very suspicious, and they had believed on him for a long time, and it seems like it would be likely because they say most of the time with that type of situation, it's usually somebody close to you.
That's very possible.
It's possible. I don't put anything past anybody in that situation. I really don't. But like Crystal said, I can't accuse the parents because we don't have that evidence because law enforcement didn't do their job correctly. So there's that.
And we
But
see that happen a lot.
we
We,
have. So
I, I,
it
I'm sorry.
no, I was just that was it. It sucks. The whole situation just
Yeah.
sucks.
I don't see the parents doing it because way I watched, all the documentaries about it. I think her parents truly was devastated. The,
Hmm.
the way they looked when in the interviews and stuff. So I don't think it was the parents at all. Because like I said, there ain't a lot of evidence, and the cops didn't do too good of a job, but they they seem genuine to me. Of course, the mom's passed on and stuff. She never got to see anything, and there's no way to tell if she done it or not. Anyway, she's gone now. So
And sadly, that's how a lot of cold cases end up. Uh, the cops drop the ball, and then the families don't get justice. There is a whole playlist on my channel of what my family went through. Um, we show the court documents and everything on there. But, and in my uncle's case, the weirdest thing is anybody that's ever watched cases, the county does the investigation, they hand it over to the state police if they need to. In his case, state police were the ones that investigated it from Jump Street. And trying to get the FOIA on that, Michelle, if she's still in chat, can tell you it was like pulling teeth. And at one point, Michelle tells, they said they were in Frankfurt. She got up with Frankfurt. No, they send them back to Knox County. Well, then when she called Knox County back, they said, well, we haven't got them. And I mean, I'm giving the quick version of this. She said, well, I guess then this turned into a case about corruption in Kentucky. Within 8 minutes, you all, the lady said that those records was on her desk. And you should have seen their face when it was me that walked in there to get them. But back in 1987, they didn't expect the general public to be able to get FOIAs. I mean, that wasn't a thing. You had to be a member of the government back then to get a FOIA to be able to get transcripts from trials and stuff. So I think there's a lot of cases that the law drops the ball, and I know they did on his. There was times that they did. Come on.
I was going to say they dropped the ball in my cousin's case. Well, they didn't even treat it like a case. They just said, "Oh, another junkie, bye," and that's just basically how they treated her. She was
Yeah.
wrapped up in a blanket in the back seat of a car. Not she wrapped herself up. No, she was literally rolled up in a blanket in the back seat of a car by herself.
Well,
Oh,
that was nefarious.
no, OD. Next.
See, I hate when that happens because, like my uncle, he was an alcoholic, and I think they didn't care if that case was solved. They didn't care if every one of his brothers went to their grave without answers. They didn't even care if the wrong person was blamed. So, yeah, there was some shifty stuff. And I think a lot of times, and it's sad, but a lot of times the public finds the parents the easy ones to blame. But at some point, and I know I'm shifting, but people need to also realize, because I think this is important, that if they are innocent, they are already going through maybe the hardest time in their life. Why add to that? because now we got YouTube where people just throw all their accusations out there and don't care who it hurts. Let me see.
You know why. I'm not even going to go there tonight, but you know why.
Yeah, yeah, I do. Yeah, yeah. Yep. Now, I told Big Bear and them in their chat, I said, Chico, you seen it happen. A lot of people say, your accent's fake. Right here is living proof. My
Yeah.
accent ain't fake. It's where I'm from. We all talk like this.
Yeah, at least 95% of it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody tried to tell her today her accent's fake, and I'm like, baby, that's how majority of us from the South talk. All of us got an accent. Like, I'm like, I know I got that Memphis twang. Crystal got that, Kentucky twang. You, it, it's not fake. It's real. That's us.
Right.
We say were, we say fur, we say we say
Yonder.
over yonder. And yeah, one of my favorite saying, useless as a screen door on a submarine. I mean, it's
Got a screen door on a submarine, yeah.
it's just passed down. And
Yeah.
my daddy used to say, you're so little you could get under the clothesline and get out of the rain.
Yeah, it's like I was talking about my kids yesterday. I said the kids are nasty as corn.
Yeah.
I grew up, that was all we meant nasty. It meant she was
Yeah.
nasty. You kids are nasty.
Mhm.
Unclean.
I've heard that one. Yeah.
And in the South, we always had another thing coming, but now back in my day, we never wanted to find out what that other thing was.
Yeah.
If I heard it once, I heard it 100 times. Girl, if you do that, if you think I'm going to put up with that, you've got another thing coming. And I knew what another thing might be.
My daddy's favorite was don't let the street lights catch your ass. That was his favorite. Do not let them street lights catch you. In other words, you better be in this house before them street lights come on. And you better be in here ready for dinner and eat and take your tail to bed.
Girl, let me tell you, we didn't have no street lights where I live. Didn't have none. You know what we had to go by? The whooper reels. And I call them that because I used to ask Mama, I'd say, why in the world do you call them whooper wheels? She said, because that's what they say, and that's what I'll do. If you ain't in here by dark, whoop her, I will. So,
Yep.
but you know what? I was thinking today, we are, or the majority of my chat, we are the last of the Gen X. And we bridge the gap between corded home phones and modern day technology.
Yep.
Which I call a blessing and a curse. Don't get me wrong. Technology, I mean, look at what it's doing right now. I never thought I'd be sitting on a live talking to a person from Kentucky, talking about urban legends and ghost stories, but here we are. Social media is able to connect you now within 5 seconds, to whereas you had to make a collect call that could cost $20 for 5 minutes back in the day. I remember that.
Oh yeah.
And now, I remember getting charged per text message. But I say it's a curse too, because like how many times have we seen misunderstandings in chat because somebody read a text wrong?
Girl, we were so poor, we faked those collect calls. I ain't kidding. You know how you had to leave your name when you made a collect call? I can remember saying, Mom wants to know if yuns are still coming in this weekend. And then they would make a collect call back and say yes or no.
I remember that.
It's like a Geico commercial. It's Bob had a baby, it's a boy.
Just like it. I mean, Mama wasn't paying 35 cents to talk to somebody for a minute.
No, it was expensive. I remember when cell phones first came out. Kids wasn't getting no cell phones. Mama and daddy had one if they were lucky. 9 times out of 10, it was just one, which was daddy because he was on the road. But I just I miss those days of like writing letters and being more personal with the
Yeah.
person compared to now. I shoot you an email or a text and it has no real meaning behind it because you don't you know what I'm saying? Like it's
because it's
different,
easy and convenient.
right?
It's
And
like
even
kids.
in those easy, I'm sorry, but even
You're
in
right.
those easy convenience, why are we cutting them down? Why are we using like WYD? What you doing? I mean, why? It's easier, but we're being lazier.
Yeah. It's like the kids. They don't want to go outside and have fun. Everything's about the video games on TV.
Yeah, and I
I
mean,
remember if we was bored, we go outside and do something.
Man, I remember my grandma told us this was when I was still staying out there in East Memphis, and of course all the neighborhood kids was at my house because we had all the good snacks and stuff. And my grandma was watching us, and she was like, "Take y'all asses outside. I'm finna show y'all the game." And we're like, "What are you finna show us? Like, Granny, we can outrun you. What are you gonna show us?" And it was kick the can.
Hmm.
When I tell y'all that can was tore up to pieces, but we had so much fun, and all it was a can.
well, you couldn't let kids do this nowadays. But I can remember doing this little game. I think we invented Twister. But my brother, me, bunch of cousins, we would all get a knife, you all, and throw that sucker into the ground. And if you could put your foot out to it without falling, then the next person would throw it. Now it couldn't be foot like over a foot from where your foot was. I don't know how any of us have toes, but you would try to it had to stick in the ground for you to move your foot though. And we all got in a circle and we would do that until one fell. And when you fell, you were out. Now, can you imagine kids now going out, sticking a knife into the ground and making a game out of it? We did that. I
Oh,
mean,
No, because somebody gonna end up at the hospital, baby.
exactly what
I'm
I was
not
going to
giving my
say.
youngins no knife. Lord, no.
Somebody gonna be at the hospital missing a toe. No.
I collect knives, okay? I love knives. Um, I got my first knife when I was like 9 years old, little pocket knife. You could not do that now with kids. Um, if you got into a fight, they wasn't grown ups jumping in it, getting offended. Us kids solved it. Now, I'll give it this. It normally ended in a knockdown drag out, but we just solved it amongst ourselves. Uh, in the house during the day, we stayed in these mountains.
Yeah, I don't get that nowadays. I don't get the whole, "Oh, you beat my," we get to fighting and I lose. So I leave. I'm going to get a pew pew and I'm coming back and I'm shooting up everything. I don't
Mhm.
understand that logic. I'm going to be honest. I don't. And this is coming from somebody that came from the hood. If I lost, I lost. If it was fair fight, take it on. At least you live another day.
Right.
Exactly.
You do
Exactly. We
get the
settled
prize
it.
you fit, and if you lost, you lost. If you won, you won. And that was it.
Yep.
Exactly. That and there was I mean, either we are cool the next day or not.
Right.
We didn't come back and, "Oh, I'm gonna do this and I'm doing that," and I don't know. That's just I don't understand kids nowadays, but I also feel like Some of these parents, not all, because I know there's parents out here that actually care about their kids. So I'm not talking to y'all. But some of these parents out here that are not emotionally available to their kids, those are the kids that are the crash dummies. Those are the ones that don't understand how precious life is and how much they actually could be a great asset to society if they put their mind to it. But unfortunately, they're conditioned to believe, oh, this is just the life I'm gonna have. No, if you work for something, you can do a hell of a lot better than sitting here trying to rob Joe Blow on the corner because you see he got some money in his pocket.
Yeah.
I've
And
just I've never understood that weird ass logic. I don't.
I think a lot of people go wrong. I still have my family do this. They don't talk to their kids,
No.
and they don't find out, because let's face it, with social media, our kids are more prone to depression and things of that nature because we heard about people's life. They watch what they think people's life is on social media and compare theirs to it. And
Mhm.
I'll call it like it is. Facebook is fake book. Nobody is putting what their struggles and what they're really doing on Facebook. That's
No,
a
they're
whole
putting up
urban legend in itself, right there.
exactly because they put out this facade like, oh, I'm going on vacations every 3 months, yada yada. No, that girl recycling photos from 3 years ago that y'all forgot about. She
Yeah.
ain't going on vacation every 3 months. Get out here. Can't nobody afford that. Like, and it's stuff like that. And you're right. They look at that and think that is success. It's not. It's not.
Well, not only kids in that type of deal, it's also adults because there's a lot of adults that gets caught up in that and they're thinking, oh, like I knew somebody that got mad at somebody because they didn't like their post and they unfriended them and became not friends because of that. I mean, that's adults doing that. So yeah, I mean, it's like, well, it's just Facebook. It's just something you get on and look at and kind of pass the time when you ain't got nothing else to do. Uh,
Right.
it ain't about, oh well, you didn't like my Facebook post, so you must hate me now, or you got this fancy lifestyle you're posting on Facebook, you must be rich. Adults do that too. I mean, kids, yeah, they're getting caught up in it, and that's the sad part. But the adults
No,
is the
you're
ones that
right.
really started it
Yeah.
You're right.
in that
You're
situation.
absolutely right.
And what's sad is a lot of these adults are raising our kids.
Exactly, exactly.
Mhm.
I mean, think about that. Okay, I'm going to use an example. Um, Say me and Chico's friends on Facebook. I don't even think I don't even think we are friends on Facebook, Chico. But let's pretend that we were. Chico get mad at me. She gonna unfriend me. Now, let's remove Facebook. Chico, if you get mad at me, are you going to unfriend me? And if you are, how you going to let me know? Face to face.
No, well, I'm not a weak ass. You know what? But if I have an issue with somebody, I come to you directly, and I prefer to do it behind scenes. I don't have to make content off of somebody. I'm not trying to give a show to anybody. We're adults, so let's act like it. If you have an issue with something I said, I expect you to come to me. Just like if I have an issue with something you said, I'm coming to you. I'm not finna send Dutch, Allie, Michelle. I'm not finna do all of that.
And
So,
Right? Don't air your dirty laundry.
right.
Nobody wants to see it.
yeah.
Exactly. Well, no, that's not true because people tune into that.
Well,
People
that is
love
true.
that.
That is
People
true. I guess people do
love
want to
the
see it.
drama. And that I hate it because I'm like, I refuse to give y'all a show. I refuse to stoop to that level and give y'all what y'all want because I'm not gonna do it. No, not when we could have been resolved it offline.
Exactly. I mean, and you know me. I am as blunt as a tree. Anybody can come to me and talk to me. I mean,
Uh-huh.
but the better question is what kind of example are we setting for our kids? And like I said, this is just going to be a story time, chill conversation. I know it ain't, which I haven't done a whole lot of my normal content lately, but it's true. What example are we being to our children? Like, we're giving them images that they can't possibly live up to. Let's face it, a lot of people's Facebook profile is either 10 years old. If they go missing, nobody's finding them. It's got so many filters on it that it looks like they were born in in the early 2000s, when they was born back in 1974. And they've done took 20 pounds off of them.
Right.
No, you're right.
But by doing that, what are we teaching our kids? That they ain't good enough?
Right.
We're all good enough. God made us just the way we are, and we're good enough. And I think more adults need to be a better example for the kids and say, you know what? So what that one's saying? You know who you are better than anybody. They need to sit down with their kids and say, you are good enough. I know my parents used to do that with me. Don't listen to what them people saying at school, Crystal. You know yourself better than anybody.
Right.
But that goes back to the parents too.
Exactly.
Honestly,
And I mean, that's
because
what I'm saying. We
yeah,
need to be better examples.
because at the end of the day, like bullying, prime example, like we were talking about earlier in the earlier life. Some of these adults, and I hate to say it, some school officials, well, a lot of school officials, y'all ignore cyberbullying and all the bullying that's going on school grounds, or after school. And then when one of these students commit or unalive themselves, then everybody's shocked.
Mm.
No, no, for weeks or years, because I know one for a fact. Her mother advocated for her for so long, and the school did absolutely nothing because of who the girl's parents were. It was a group of girls bullying this girl, and she eventually took her life.
Yeah.
Well, we've had a couple right here in the county we live in that one took his life in the parking lot of Knox Central.
Yeah, I
And
remember that.
I mean, I would never want a kid to think that's the way out. I don't. And if people don't do something about it, it's just going to get worse. I mean,
Well, it's like when I was a kid. I remembered if somebody bullied me, uh, I fit back. I didn't stand around and say no. I
Right.
didn't just take it. I actually fit back. And most time when you do that, a bully will stop. Most of the time, not every time, but. And I know every kid's different and every person's different, but if we would teach our kids to stand up for themselves and not back down, and what like the schools, oh, don't fight, violence is no good. Sometimes you got to fight violence with violence.
sometimes you got to take up for yourself. Like I
Yeah.
was telling Chico earlier, my daughter was always real humble. She never started anything, not because she couldn't take up for herself, but she was just one of those kids that, she was quiet, and they started picking on her, and it started on social media. I went to the school because nowadays our kids don't know what another kid has in his pocket.
True.
They don't fight fair no more.
True.
I mean, you never know when a kid's going to jerk out something and hurt one. So I told her, I said, we'll take care of it. Go to school, talk to the school. They said, Well, it's happening on social media. It's not happening here. I said, it is happening here. They said, but we need proof that it's happening here. And I said, well, it didn't start here, but it will end here. And I told Hope, I said, now listen, you take up for yourself, because but if you don't, they are going to continue doing this. Well, when she ends up putting 2 girls in a locker, I have to go to that school. And I plainly told them, I took her shopping. I did. Because I plainly told them when I went to the school, I said, now listen, I told you that it may not have started here, but it will end here. And that is exactly what happened. So you can't say you wasn't warned, because I'm not going to let one bully my kid. Not this mama. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I didn't go for it either. I told that man, you better get your leak back. He did. He got every last one of them back out. Like, I know for a good month I was getting calls. You need to come get your brother. Let me guess, he done got to fighting again. And my mom, like when I say my mama was about to lose her lid, but I'm like, no, because if he doesn't defend himself, they're going to keep trying him. So he's going to have to show them he's not the one. And what makes it so bad, what really made the whole situation so bad, and I didn't say this earlier, Crystal, was he was defending his friend who left him when he was getting jumped.
Oh my goodness. And see, that would have never happened when I was growing up. There could have been 14 people standing around you, and if you threw fists, it was you and that person. Nobody was jumping in. They may have been trying to hide the fight so you didn't get caught, but nobody was jumping in.
Yeah, they don't play fair nowadays. Trust me, if there's a fight at school, it's gonna be a big brawl, unfortunately. I don't know what it is, and these folks can't fight one-on-one, but yeah.
I mean, social media has its pluses, but it has its disadvantages too, because a lot of kids nowadays will sit in front of a game until they grow roots. I mean, they don't know what it's like to touch grass. And let me just say this: give your children some chores. If you don't teach them how to work and do things now, they're going to grow up and be lazy. They're not going to know how to do anything. And one of these days, we are not going to be here. There will be no such thing as a Gen X. And what we're going to be left with is a bunch of kids that don't know how to grow a garden.
I think it'll be the time when Jesus comes back.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right about that. Like, I had to teach myself how to garden because I did not have a green thumb. I didn't. My mama did, but I didn't. But once I made that promise to her about the hydrangea, I told her I wasn't going to kill them, because I told y'all they came out of my granny's garden, who is no longer here. So I have to keep them alive. I can't do that. So
Now, I can garden, but I can't grow a flower for nothing. And they die. I killed a cactus. But now, if I've said it once, I've said it 100 times. My daddy was the hardest boss I ever had.
Did you go potty?
We worked in the garden. We worked in the garden. We planted tobacco. We stripped tobacco. And you didn't get a break every 5 minutes. You got a break when he said it was time to take a break.
And maybe other people was raised different, but I know every weekend, because this is when we still had the farm in Mississippi. Every weekend, all the grandkids was down on the farm working, whether it was plowing, picking, processing. You were doing something.
That's the way I was raised. Now, if I can count one time, I can tell you 100 that I heard this phrase. I'd say, I'm thirsty. Probably wasn't really thirsty, just wanting to get out working. And hey, Kanan.
Hey, I'm pointing at him because he's one of them.
Oh,
What am I? One of the
but
ones that says I'm thirsty every 5 minutes, or I'm ready for a break, but I am.
but now, my daddy, I'd be complaining like that, and he'd say, "Swallow your spit. We got 2 more roads."
Really?
And if I'm being right honest with you, if I'm thirsty now and I ain't got something close to me, I try that. It never does work.
Yeah, I gotta have something to drink about all the time.
But I'm proud of the way I was raised. I'm very proud of the way I was raised because I was raised with something called morals and dignity. And there ain't nothing anybody could do that would cause me to compromise that. I've said it from the time I've had this channel. One of these days, I won't be here. This channel will. And I never want my kids to be able to come back to my channel to maybe hear my voice and see their mama making a whole mess out of herself.
I respect that. I don't have any kids. I got fur babies, so.
Well, I've heard about it working.
He's got a fur baby too. My fur babies are in there. I'm going to let you all hold it down a minute so I can go check and make sure the babies are still asleep.
But no, kids today compared to even the 80s babies, because I'm an 80s baby. I know I'm probably one of the younger ones in here. I remember that switch from, everything, like I said, like the rotary phones and all of that stuff, because my grandma had one of those. I remember that like it was yesterday. Put that in front of a kid today, and they do not know how to dial out to save their lives.
Girl, they can't even tell time. If it
No.
ain't digital, they can't tell time. If they have to sign a check, they're going to have a hard time because school don't teach them to write in cursive.
Well, they're bringing that back this year.
Good.
Okay.
Kentucky schools are. Yep.
Yay. Good. Because I was mad as hell because I'm a left-handed person, and I had to get so many whoopings for that cursive writing. Because everybody that was teaching me was right-handed, so I'm like trying to mirror it, but was failing horribly. Yeah, good. Because I struggled, and they should have to struggle. Hell.
You know what? I remember when that's another thing that's changed. If you acted up at school, there was this thing called a wooden paddle. Now, I don't completely agree with that wooden paddle, but kids were afraid to act a whole mess.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, because they would do it in the cafeteria at lunch in front of everybody.
Right against the wall.
We had a principal that was in Vietnam. He was a veteran, and if we was out at lunch because we had like 60 or 70 in one little lunchroom, and we was right across from the principal's office. He started hearing us, and it didn't like it. He'd walk in there, and sometimes he'd sneak in there, and he would bang that wooden paddle against the table, and it would get so quiet you could hear a pin drop. What was this thing? That was when I was in elementary school. But everybody was knew then to be quiet because he got that paddle out of his back pocket. That's where he carried it around at.
Well, I'm going to tell on myself. They had removed the paddle, I think, when I was in 5th grade. Yeah, that's the last time I can remember being whooped with a paddle. And I pretty much got it every year. But my 6th grade teacher, man, I was a terror. I was. And he wore a toupee. And he made it obvious because he wore a different colored one to school every day. And I asked him, how does he put on his toupee? But I called it a wig because now I'm a 6th grader. I didn't know the difference. Okay. Yeah. So he said, I don't wear a wig. Well, I was bound and determined I was going to prove he lied. And they had these little racks beside the door that you could hang your coat up. And there was a bookshelf running right across, right beside the door. So, and you used metal clothes hangers back then. When he walked through, I grabbed that toupee and went running down the hallway with it. And at the end of that school year, now my brother had him too, and he got in a fight in the bathroom, tore the toilet up. Mommy and Daddy had a choice of either replacing the toilet or letting Dave play football. He played football. But at the end of the year, he said, I want you to know something. I've decided this year that I'm going to retire. And I said, well, that's real good, Mr. Sams. I'm glad. He said, no, I want you to know why. I said, well, he said, I had your brother, I had your sister, and I've had you. And I am scared to death that your mommy and daddy might have another youngin' at home. He said, and I can't take that. But of course, I think he was joking. But, and y'all remember when Y2K hit?
Yeah.
Everybody thought that the banks was going to close down and everything, and all the computers was going to roll back and they was going to lose their money. He unalived himself during that time because he actually believed that.
Oh my gosh. What?
Oh wow.
That was, I remember that. I was scared. I was scared to death because I heard all the adults saying it's the end of the world, you know.
Yeah,
And,
they really made it seem like the apocalypse. I'm not gonna lie. Like
yeah.
I remember Y2K like it was yesterday, and they really hyped it out, hyped it up, and for nothing.
I'm gonna go bye.
Well,
Bye.
my oldest son had RSV, and I can tell you exactly where I was. I was at the hospital with him, just wondering if everything was just going to quit.
Mm.
Because out of all the places, if computers was going to die, in my mind, that hospital was the worst place to be.
Oh yeah. We had a closet full of food we stocking up. I remember we'd buy it every time we'd go to the grocery store. My dad would buy a case or two of canned food and put it in the closet and keep it. And then after it all happened, I said, "Well, at least we have a whole closet full of canned food for a while."
Yeah, we all eat good after that because I think everybody's stocked up.
Yeah.
Or, well, we did what we could, but like I said, I was raised hard, but I'm grateful for the way I was raised.
Yep.
We were poor, but we didn't know we was.
Right. Yeah.
I can look back on some of the things that I wore to school, though, and know real good that I was poor. But I didn't know it then.
Right. I never wanted for nothing. My mom took care of us good. She made sure we had something. If it may not have been name brand all the time, but it was always something nice.
And no, you're right, because I remember for a while. Like I'm not gonna front. Like I remember our lights had got cut off, all type of stuff. But then when my mom got hired by Nike, that was really when I just really started getting name brand clothing, and that was because they gave it to them for free because they give employees what they call a giveaway, and they do it once a year. And like that's how we would get Nike stuff is because they would give it to the employees.
I can remember when I got it was a typewriter. I'm giving my age away right here. But not that I haven't already done that. But anyways, I remember when I got a typewriter one time. And I took care of that typewriter till my house burnt in 2005. And I think nowadays kids are different because they aren't working for what they get. They don't appreciate it as much as we did because we didn't get stuff so often.
Right. Now it's like every time you get paid, kids, I want this, want that. You know, which we try
Yeah,
our
no.
best. We're guilty of trying to get it from them, though, when we do have the money. So
That's me.
Yeah.
I mean, my kids, if I had it, I'd get it. And my kids right now, if they ask me for something and I've got it, I'll get it for them. And 9 times out of 10, they get it. But with that being said, I have replaced more phones than you want to shake a stick at, and uh, game systems and stuff like that. So that's what I mean by I don't think that they appreciate things the way that they did when we were growing up, because you just didn't. I mean, Christmas and birthday, that was your time you got stuff.
if we had a phone as expensive as they are today, when I was a kid, we would have that phone the time we got it, the time he quit working, and we'd have to take very good care of it
Mm-hmm.
because $1,500 for a cell phone nowadays, you know, we had that
Ridiculous.
pretty much till we died.
Yeah. No, because I remember having the Nokia and the Snake and all of that.
Yeah,
And I didn't get an upgrade for years.
right.
Girl, I've had the phone I have right now. I know 3 years. It ain't cracked. Nothing. It's as I mean, long as it works, I'm good. I don't need a
Mm.
new one.
Well, now I see. I don't do that upgrade every year crap no way because that's a scam. And once, what was it? Apple got caught slowing phones down on purpose to push you to get an upgrade.
Yeah,
No, I'm
Girl,
good.
I
I'm
don't even do a
super strong.
plan. I do straight talk.
straight up.
Mhm.
I used to do a plan, but now shoot far that stuff run into as much as
Oh
sometimes
yeah,
$200 a month. I can't do all that business. I
that
need to know what's coming out.
that and plans is they get you. Once you in, they you go deeper and deeper.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
because
They
you'll
get
easily add everybody in your family.
Yeah,
and then you're stuck in a 48-month contract because they won't let you pay for the phone outright. You have to be on a plan where you're paying monthly for you to
mm-hmm,
get the deal. And then half the time it's not even a deal because they're still hitting you with random fees out of nowhere.
mm-hmm. Yeah, they always them hidden charges is what gets you.
Mhm. Like, because somebody got sued for that too.
And
I think
see,
it was
we're still talking
AT&T.
about urban legends because they act like them plans are the greatest thing and their price ain't going up. And we're still talking about urban legends.
Yes, because I remember when AT&T said $50. Since when it's been $50?
Now, when you get it, it goes up to about 70 or 80.
Exactly. Since when has it been $50? Like, stop lying. That's an urban legend. That's a myth right there.
Yeah, that's true.
Lord, I felt like I was flying when I got Starlink because if you live around here and you've ever had to use our internet, you might as well. Y'all remember dial up.
Oh yeah.
That's what we need to do one night. We need to all get together and let the kids that's in the or the teenagers that's in the chat see if they can guess what we got on screen. Because I guarantee you they won't be able to tell what a dial-up sounds like or what that meant.
Right.
A Rolodex, they wouldn't be able to. No, I'd say kids wouldn't know how to use a phone book. Do they even
Hmm.
make those anymore?
I ain't seen one in a few years. We used to get one every now and then from Windstream, I think is what it was. But
We did too, but
I
I
think,
ain't seen one in forever. I'll tell
I
you what I
have.
done. I found one of the old rotary phones, and it's been years ago. My son was like barely a teenager, but I found one of those, and I thought, oh, I want that. So I brought it home, hooked it up. It worked. My daughter and my son come home from school, and Hope, if you know her, she, like I said, she's kind of to herself. She went to her room. He went to his. He was the first one to notice it. And he said, "What in the world is this?" I said, "That's a phone." He looked at it and he said, "Well, where's the camera at?" I said, "Are you kidding me?" There's not a camera on that phone. He said, "What's it good for?" I said, "For what phones was made for, to make a phone call." Well, he goes to his room. Hope comes out. She sees it sitting on the table. And if she didn't say the same thing he did, my name ain't Crystal. She said, "Mama, what is that?" I said, "That is a phone." She said, "Where's the camera?" I said, "You youngins do understand that not all phones have to have a camera." Our privacy was limited to 10 feet. And that was if you had the cord. If you had that big long cord that you stretched all the way through your house just to try to get inside of a door where you thought sound didn't travel, that was your privacy.
We had cordless phones with a big old antenna. They look like a big block on the side of your face.
You had to pull that. Yeah, we later got one of those. I'm older than you. I can tell right now I'm older than you.
I was born in '86.
Shoot far. I remember when, see, told you I was older than you. I can remember when I got my first car phone and you plugged it into the lighter and it was in this big pouch.
Oh yeah, I've seen those. I never had one, but I've seen them.
I done lost Chico. Her internet probably dropped. I jinxed it.
Oh no.
But yeah, things sure have changed. I think it's kind of sad though, because I got to thinking about that today after me and Chico was talking. And when we're gone, the next generation won't know any of this.
Mhm. I try to teach my kids a lot about it. That way they know it and they can pass it on. Because it's that's part of our history now. And, it's something that, well, I don't know. Some things are coming back. Uh, like record players. I bought my son for Christmas a record player and some vinyl albums. And so he knows what that is. He knows how to work it and everything. So I taught him how to do all that. So that's something that is coming back. Some things may be coming back. I don't know. It makes it more, instead of all this digital stuff, it makes it more personal and stuff. You
Yeah.
have an album or a collection or something like that you can put back or put on to play every now and then.
Yep. Absolutely.
Cassette tapes, I reckon, is making a comeback. So that's a couple of things that's making a comeback.
I I think it was pretty good when we were growing up. I'm glad that I wasn't raised to just be stuck. That's the reason a lot of times I can log off. I'm just as content with being on the outdoors fishing as I am with a phone or a computer, because one rule we got at our house is when we sit down to eat, your phones don't come with you.
Mm-hmm.
You see a lot of families sitting right in a restaurant trying to have dinner, and every one of them be on their phone.
Right.
No conversation. And if I'm being honest, I think that's how we lose our kids. Why we
I'm
don't
guilty of
know
that.
what they're going through, and I worry about that as a foster mom. You meet kids from all different walks. Uh, and I think personally that the lack of communication is horrible the way it is now. And I mean, I'm talking about my own family. They do it. Go out to eat with them, everyone be on their phones. Well, if you're going out to eat, you're sitting down to have a good dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk a minute, you know?
Right. I'm guilty of it sometimes. We do the same thing. We go out to a restaurant and we'll sit there, and then all of a sudden we'll be on our phones playing with them or seeing what's going on. Or sometimes I do business on my phones. That's what my kids don't understand either. They think I'm on my phone playing all the time. But there's some things I'm doing to, take care of bills or take care of certain things or looking up something for, to benefit them also for the house, something like that. So, but I'll get carried away. I'll be sitting there on my phone instead of sitting down talking about, to the kids or the daughter or something like that, So I can say I'm guilty of it sometimes.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you when I'm most guilty of it. I'm most guilty of it when it's just me and my spouse.
Mm. We do it.
What's happened?
We lost Chico. I don't know what her internet or something maybe went down or. Oh, she ain't having no rolling blackouts out that way. Memphis.
Yeah, she's from Memphis. I don't think she ain't said nothing about any rolling blackouts.
I know we got friends in New York. They said they've been experiencing here the last few days because of the heat wave.
Yeah. Now, my husband's been stuck in Indianapolis. Is that where he was stuck at? He's in so many different states. I want to think it was Indianapolis, and he said it was over 100.
Mm.
It was all there.
They said New York was hotter than down here.
That's odd too.
That is odd. 105 when it's like 100 down here.
Felt like 115 or 110.
Yeah. I was like, wow. I ain't never seen New York hotter than Kentucky. And
Yeah,
these places hotter than us.
well, Mother Nature is she's needing on her hormone pills because we go from we can have 3 seasons in one day.
Yeah. Especially in the fall and spring. That happens a lot. We can go from spring to summer to fall and to winter.
I tell you what, I got so tired of seeing the rain that I actually welcomed this heat.
I did too, in a way. Because where we live at, our water situation around the house, it's we live at the bottom of the slope. It's not really a hill, but it's kind of like graded, up, and everything comes down to us. All the water shed from our neighbors and all that stuff comes right down to us, and it's like we're in a little hole. So our yard gets swampy, muddy, and it pulls up in certain places. I'm trying to dig ditches around the house to alleviate that. And sometimes when it comes real hard rain, it goes under. Our phone died. But it goes under the house and everything. It's sometimes when we get all that rain, it's a mess here. So it's I'm glad to see it too in a way. Let it dry out just a little bit, so it ain't so bad.
I just don't like the heat.
You can't cut grass. I'm all up in the mud and just get stuck.
That's the way it is here. And on top of that, when we did actually get started cutting grass, the mower tore up. So,
oh gosh, I've had that.
If it ain't one thing, it's another.
Yeah.
Now, if you were born in the 80s, you may have you probably did go to school with my cousin. But
you probably would. I'm originally from Bell County.
Oh, well,
I'm from Knox.
You from Knox County. So you did what I did.
I did.
You found you a Bell County man, brought him back to Knox County.
Yeah, the Knox County ones ain't good enough.
Now
See,
that
on my mom's side, her mom and stuff is from Stinking Creek, though, which is the funny thing about it. My mama was born and raised on Stinking Creek on Browns Branch.
now
And
my aunt lived on Stinking Creek for all my childhood, and they lived right beside Mills Creek up there.
Mm,
So I played in as a kid. I played up on Stinking Creek too.
yeah.
Yeah, I went to Flat Lick, then Knox Central. So
I went to Girdler and then Knox Central. My husband, he moved a lot, but I mean, a total of 14 times through his school years. But the majority of when he lived in Kentucky, though, he lived up RJ and up Clear Creek.
that's
Well,
funny.
that's where I'm from. RJ.
RJ.
Yeah.
We had
Well,
to go deep in the mountains, didn't we?
oh yeah, oh yeah. I actually met my husband on a blind. It was kind of a blind date,
Oh,
but it
you're
was a
kidding.
blind setup.
That's what we did. We met each other at a church. The preacher's wife set us up because his sister and her was what, in-laws.
Yeah.
So I gave her my phone number, and she called his sister, and then he called me, and we met at church.
Well, my brother worked with my husband at the time, and the only thing he told me, he said, "I'm having a Labor Day cookout. Fix your hair." I was like, "What?" Well, he don't want to be embarrassed of me, so I went to that cookout, and he had invited my husband to sing, and then, but that's what his whole thing was. And he had left, but didn't ask for my number. And I'm like, well, he must not like me too good. But the next night, he come back to my brother's house wanting to know where I live. Said he forgot his sunglasses. And my brother said, well, we found your sunglasses. He said, well, if you don't mind, David, he said, where does Crystal live? Because we had talked at the cookout.
Yeah.
And David told him, I'll let you follow me. But when they left, my sister-in-law called and she said, he's headed that way. I said, you're lying. I got ready faster than I ever have in my life. Hello, Justin.
Brandon's mom was actually scared for him to even come over to the house because it's back in a holler.
Oh,
She talked to him all the way and was asking questions like, what do you remember? Because when I have to come up and get you if they kill you or unalive you, sorry.
They try to hurt you.
Yeah. I need to know where you're at. I said, you're as safe as you can be right here.
Or try to kidnap me, she said. I'm like, Mom, honey, I'm a grown man. I'm all right.
Well, now, when my husband asked me, he was going to cook for me. And when he asked me on a date, now I thought I lived far back, and I do. But, it don't seem like a big trip because I've made this trip my whole life.
Right.
And he lived way up there past the Cold Temple at the time in RJ.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. He lived up Crockett, sounds like.
Well, thank you, Justin. But I'll be honest with you. Halfway back there, I said, you ain't I said, you ain't an axe murderer, are you? He said, no. I said, I just wonder if we ever gonna get to your house or if you're taking me back here to kill me.
That is a long ways up in there. If you're talking about the same coat tip I'm talking about, it's way back in there.
Yeah, that one on the left there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he used to live in a guy named Carter's house.
Huh.
You might know him, Carter Brock.
Carter Brock.
He's
I don't know.
fascinating.
I may know some of his family because
Yeah, he was renting a house from him back then, and Lord have mercy.
that is a long ways up in there.
But I started to rethink my date.
Yeah, it kind of gets a little scary.
It is the one place that when you tell your parents, I got stuck behind the same train 3 times,
Yeah.
Yeah.
very possible.
He's about, let's see, one.
Oh, good Jesus.
He jumped one above up 30.
Sorry, the cat jumped from the loft all the way to the floor.
I'm trying to think of how many railroad tracks. I know there's 1, 2, yeah, 3 railroad tracks all the way out there. Well, 4. Yeah, there's 2 in Pineville, right there at the bridges. But no, there's 3 coming out of RJ. One at the forks of the creek. There's one on up in there, and then way up in there. And then there's 2 in Pineville. There's 5 tracks you got to cross.
There's somebody backstage. Just a second, let me put up something.
All right.
Oh, if I can find it. Do. Okay. This will work.
Hello, Crystal.
Hello, Justin.
Hi.
So you say you have a channel?
Yeah. Like I chatted first before I came up.
And yeah, I see that. Do you have an urban legend?
I love, not really. I love campfire stories.
You like campfire stories, like ghost stories?
Yep. Yeah.
Well, that's what we started the stream off with. Do you have a ghost story?
Not really.
Just a second. Okay, that was you. Sorry.
You would check my channel out to see. I have 198 videos on it. 369 subscribers.
How many?
369.
What kind of content do you do?
I do DVD reviews, like TV commercials. I do room tours, streaming services. You know.
Well,
Yep. I do all those kind of stuff.
how long you been on YouTube?
Since like 2023, I think.
Well, there's a lot of different avenues of YouTube. Big Bear Family, they Yens do like vlogs and stuff like that. You want to
Yeah.
explain your channel?
We do like daily lives.
We build.
We do DIY stuff. Sometimes we just sit and talk. What else we do?
Just how we feel.
Yeah, it's just according to what we got going on. We might do a grocery haul. We might do a
might cook a little
cooking.
bit.
We might take a trip and travel.
We just do it all.
It's basically just what we do in our daily lives or as our family, and of course we live in Appalachia, and what it's like living in Appalachia in this time and day. So
I do cold cases, some missing persons, little true crime. Lately, that's been a little bit draining. So on Saturday nights, I've been doing the YouTuber Survivor House. But I do a little bit of everything over here, and sometimes we just chill and talk, which is kind of what tonight's been like.
So I did the right thing. I chat first in the chat first before I came up. Yeah.
Chico, she was on our panel. She covers a lot of corruption.
So I was almost about to think about just coming up. It's like I said, note to myself. I would say, chat in the live chat first, and then come up. That's what I did. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind anybody coming up as long as they're respectful.
I'm respectful. Yep.
Chico says, but I actually cover corruption within law enforcement departments across the South. Lately, I've been on Cat's content. Yeah, it's been wild in the true crime community lately. I was telling the Big Bear family, I don't know if I can say your name or not. That's the reason I'm saying your channel. But, and without permission, I don't want to do that. But,
being up here is a privilege. Privilege.
Tell her I subscribed
well,
to her.
thank you.
Yeah.
Chico.
No, I subscribed to.
Okay. Oh, Crystal. Okay.
Oh, don't forget to subscribe to my channel.
Yes.
I'll go check it out.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Probably like share screen. Figure out
So,
where I
what
am.
part of the world are you from? State, don't give
California.
me. Okay, California. Is it hot out there right now?
Yep. Yep. It's hot. Mostly in the 90s. Triple digits sometimes.
I don't think we've had no triple digits, have we?
Real close. I think we've been like 98, 99.
It felt
Well,
like 102.
Yeah. I think one day it was 108. The actual feel was. I don't think officially though we've had a high above 96 according to the weather apps, but our vehicles said different.
Yeah, my big
Yeah. Yeah, mine jumps all over the place just according to what part of town I'm on.
Yeah. But we're getting kindly. It's not really a break, but we're getting kindly a break right now from the heat.
I thought you were alive when I wanted to come up, though.
But can you understand us? A lot of people say they can't understand us. They think our accent me personally, they think my accent's fake.
That's funny.
It is. It is funny.
It is
Well,
fake.
I don't know. We went to Louisville one time, and we was trying to get an order at a what was that, East Coast Subs? What's that, Penn Station? And I was trying to tell them what I wanted, and they couldn't understand me worth a lick. I don't know what the deal was. They kept asking me to repeat it.
They kept saying, "You want a Sprite?" And we'd say, "No fries."
Fries, yeah, we're saying fries.
No, French fries.
Yeah, that's what it was. We're saying French fries. I said, the things you eat, chips and British talk.
Well, it's not even. It ain't just people that sometimes come in the chat that try to say my accent's fake. Machines don't never understand me. I cannot stand an automotive machine.
Yeah.
We've been close, but humidity has death been in triple digits. Now, see, that's when I'm glad that I'm in 2025 and have air conditioning.
Oh, goodness, yeah. I don't know how people made it back in the days of no air conditioner, which they had neat stuff like the breezeways and old houses and cabins and stuff. Which
we were used to it.
Yeah, which we did go. Me and her went to there's an old fort in Virginia, a replica of a fort. What's it called? Dar Wilderness Road State Park in Virginia, and they have like a replica fort from the like 1700s. And we went in it and toured it and stuff. And they had a big fire built in their fireplace because they was doing like cooking and stuff. And we walked in there, and it was actually cooler in that cabin with that fire going than it was outside, and we couldn't believe it.
Oh, Lord.
Which it had dirt floors, didn't it?
Yeah.
And it was it wasn't underground, but they had it dug in the ground. So I don't know if that made a difference or what, but it was cooler.
Have you all heard about Waverly Hills?
Yes. I
Now
want to go
they do
visit.
tours, and there's a couple girls in chat. I've been trying my best to get with me to do a tour of Waverly Hills.
We want to go.
I want to see Waverly Hills.
That,
That's kind of on my bucket list.
well, we've talked about it before. Maybe Crystal, we could get up together and go one day.
I think it'd be fun.
Yeah, I think it would too.
I think Michelle looked it up, and it's $1,000 for 10 people to do. I forget if it's an all night tour or 5-hour tour.
Oh, good Lord.
But if you
Well-
split that, with the,
Yeah.
with
Well,
everybody, that's $100.
$100.
Well, there's
Right.
5 of us. And how many of you all?
That'd be me and my husband.
Oh,
We get 3 more people to go. Because we could pay for ourselves and
Yeah.
we could split. That'd
so it'd
be,
be 500
cheaper.
for us, but then it'd be 500 for them. That's a lot of money just to,
it is,
for 2
but
of them.
if everybody splits, it's $100 piece for 10 people. But I'm kind of a skeptic on that, Crystal. So I don't know because I've never seen nothing like that. I've only heard the stories and seen the videos. I've never experienced nothing like that in real life.
See, that's
It's-
why I want to go.
Right? Yeah. So if everything they're saying is true, we go and see it. We might become a believer of it.
We may lose $100 in 5.2 seconds, yes, because when you
May
dig
do.
to the ground, it provides natural insulation and cooling. Oh, she's talking about. I was going to say, Chico telling us not to. Says, yes, because when you dig into the ground, it provides natural insulation and cooling. Back in the day, they would be
sailors. Yeah.
Yeah. My family actually still has a cellar. To be
Well,
honest,
yeah, I didn't think about that. Sailors, you dig them down so far in the ground, it stays a constant, I think, 60-some degrees. So I didn't think about that. So that might be why it's so cool in that cabin. But,
It might be.
Now, when we were talking about Waverly Hills, my friend Allie, she said, "Do they have a coffee pot?" And I got to looking, and they actually do, but it's by the body chute.
Oh,
we'll just bring some instant coffee and some hot water, or I'll bring a thermos.
I can't drink that from her.
You know that has to have an eerie feeling there, though, with all the people that's died there.
All right, it being one of them old hospitals deals. What was it called? Not asylums, but was it a sane asylum or was it one of them tuberculosis places?
It was a tuberculosis place.
Well, yeah. And that's a lot of people's died there. What do they call
you can
them?
get something from there. It's probably dead by now.
Tuberculosis? It
Yeah.
should be dead by now.
I hope so.
I don't think anybody. I don't think they'd have it. I think they'd have it tore down and gone if that was the case of it.
My youngin', she said, "Mama, you go down there, you just miss looking at be scared to death." I said, "I'm going to see if it's the truth. I'm covered by the blood of Jesus. I ain't thinking I'm bringing something back."
Right. Well, as far as demons and stuff goes.
I refuse that. We refuse
Yeah.
that.
Well,
I found this one video though, and it's on this one channel called The Scariest Campfire. It's a story on that one video.
What kind of video is it?
It's on Kids Time Story Time. There's a YouTube channel based on it. And it talks about the scariest campfire story you ever heard.
Okay, drop it in the back chat. I may look at it here. We might show it. Can you drop the link in the back chat?
I could just put the channel name in the private chat if you want to.
Just go ahead and tell me. I'll type it in.
Kids Time Story Time, I think.
And the title of the video is what?
It's this one right here with the pickle. It's called the scariest campfire. Right there.
Everybody's awake. Wait, no, that's not a pickle. Just a second. The scariest campfire.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Kids Time Story Time. It's on YouTube. Yep.
Sanitarium, Crystal. That's what they're called.
Oh yeah, it was a sanitarium too. Just a second. See if
I was trying to rack my brain on what it was called.
just a second here.
They have like a story we can like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a second. I'm going to show this right quick. I'm going to. Yeah.
YouTube is a good place to find camp stories. Yep. Actually.
Okay. Let me see here.
Let's go to the scariest.
Here we go.
Campfire
This
stories.
is Waverly Hills, everybody.
Around 20 minutes outside of Louisville, Kentucky, sits a massive top of a hill. For decades, it served as an important hospital to fight the enormous tuberculosis epidemic, and as a result, was a facility that saw thousands of deaths. Since the institution's closure, several parties have tried to repurpose the building to no avail, and it's now considered one of the most haunted buildings in America. What's up, guys? My name is Jake, and in this 83rd episode of Abandoned,
So I was right, and I'll have to pause through this so I don't get struck for this video. But it is one of the, what was that? Scariest places?
My name is Jake, and in this 83rd episode of Abandoned, let's take a deeper look into all of this, see if it's as haunted as everyone seems to think it is, and find out what the future may hold for this historic sanatorium. It just so happens that in the previous year, 1882, the tuberculosis disease was formally discovered, and the land on which Waverly Hills would be built upon would be purchased. It was acquired by a man named Major Thomas H. Hayes, and he bought it to build a home for his family. But their new home atop these rolling hills was far from any local schools which his children could attend. So they built a single-room schoolhouse and later named it Waverly Hill after the teacher's fondness of the Waverly novels. But then that newly understood tuberculosis was spreading around the country. I say newly understood, but really this infectious bacterial disease had little effective treatments at the time. It had a terrifyingly high mortality rate, and it was spreading particularly fast in the state of Kentucky. Pulmonary tuberculosis, which mainly affects the respiratory system, seemed like a death sentence for those who contracted it. And during this time, sanatoria began.
That was at the time, 1882. Could have been like 100 years ago. Almost.
Okay, I was so muted during all of that. But anyways, these balconies is what I was saying earlier. They believe that putting the patients out on these balconies, no matter what the weather was, I mean, it could be snowing and they still going to be out on these balconies, would help tuberculosis. But what it actually was doing was just making it worse, because not only were they having tuberculosis, but they were also having stuff like pneumonia, and they already had weak lungs.
Popping up all across the United States and Canada. In Louisville, the amount of cases were particularly bad, and the city funded the construction of a new medical institution on the land they had just purchased from Major Thomas. So in 1910, the Waverly Hills Sanatorium opened up as a relatively small two-story clinic structure, as well as a few single-story pavilions which could house the patients. The number of cases in the area quickly exceeded the capacity they could handle, which at the time was only around 170.
Oh, wow.
The state then began working on a much larger and more permanent facility to house all of their patients. In 1926, a much larger 4-story brick and stone structure had opened. It boosted the capacity to 400 beds, with the exterior adorned with Gothic architecture. It crucially added space, though, around 180,000 square feet of it, and it was completed within 2 years at the cost of $1.1 million, or around $19 million today. Waverly Hills Sanatorium was considered state-of-the-art at the time. A cure for tuberculosis was non-existent at that point, and institutions like this were set up to accommodate treatments that were known to benefit patients. For example, the structure was set up with corridors known as sun porches. The patient rooms would line these hallways with exterior windows fitted with screens. Patient beds would be brought out onto these sun porches to soak up the fresh air and sunlight. At that point, that was the leading treatment for tuberculosis. Patients would spend as much time in the outdoors as possible, sometimes even sleep.
See, look, that's snow.
Right, yeah, I've seen that. The
And these
sun.
pa-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
And these patients are laying right out in it. You know, it made it worse.
Oh, yeah. Now, the sun and it warm may have helped because of the vitamin D and stuff, but I don't see the snow helping.
No, me neither.
Sleeping
Man,
out,
that's crazy.
allowing
Though.
their lungs to fill with intense outdoor air. An overall positive spirit was also seen as a form of treatment, and Waverly Hills featured a library, a movie theater, sprawling outdoor space, and for children, a rooftop playground.
That to me is sad. The fact that there were so many kids there, and you know, they weren't allowed to leave because they felt like if they did, then because a lot of times if one person had tuberculosis, the whole family would move on these grounds because the townspeople thought that they were spreading it. Leave it to Chico. Yeah, I should have looked at chat. Sorry. She keeping me in line.
It all had to be self-contained, though, as TB patients had to be quarantined. But this was often not enough to save the lives of thousands of patients, many of whom were sent to Waverly Hills in the later stages of tuberculosis disease. Doctors would experiment with new treatments here, and while some patients claimed the institution was an inviting place, others would claim it was a lonely nightmare. Conditions were particularly bad for African American patients, whose segregated living situation was far less advanced than the primary structure. Thankfully, though, by the early 1950s, drugs were being developed that successfully cured patients who suffered from the disease, and the already falling mortality rate was supercharged by this breakthrough. After hundreds of years of suffering, tuberculosis was being eradicated across the country, which really left Waverly Hills Sanatorium as an unnecessary institution. By 1961, the state agreed, as new patients had dried up, and the facility was shuttered for good. It instead reopened in 1962 as the Woodhaven Geriatric Center, a nursing home for elderly patients with advanced psychological and mobility impairments. But through the next few decades, the structure began to fall into disrepair.
And right here is where when the elderly was put in there, I mean, it's just like so many people died in this building that they had a body chute. Think about that. To keep up morale, they were pushing bodies down a body chute.
That's crazy.
A reputation of a sometimes brutal and cruel place. Numerous state violations were identified, from patients being locked in their rooms for extended periods of time, along with some of those patients being tied to chairs. The whole operation seemed to be a complete mess, and with it losing money, by 1980, the state made moves to permanently close the facility, and acted on it in 1983, auctioning off most of the land. A local businessman named J. Clifford Todd purchased the land from the state for a little over $300,000. His plan was to convert the building into a 500-room prison. As you can imagine, though, the local residents didn't really appreciate this idea and protested hard to cancel the plan. Local government leaders agreed, and the project was dead by 1984. The land would once again go up for auction, this time being split up into 3 parcels. 2 years later, Dr. Charles B. Severs purchased the parcel of land with the primary structure on it for just $128,000. That low price was justified, though, as the building had now been sitting abandoned for a few years. Unguarded, vandals and scrappers broke in and began tearing out the copper piping. The structure was listed in the National Register of Historic Buildings, but really the doctor didn't have any plans and claimed he bought it just because he thought he got a good deal. So with nothing on the books, Waverly Hills continued to sit abandoned and without a future. That was until March of 1996, when yet another new owner came in and purchased the site. Though whatever you think his plans were going to be for the site, you're wrong. The new owner, Robert Alberhaski's plan was to construct a 155-foot-tall Jesus statue on the Waverly Hills site. He said that after visiting Rio de Janeiro, he was inspired by their iconic statue of.
Well, this video went in a direction I didn't know it was going. Did I hear that right? He bought that land just to build a Jesus statue on?
Yep.
Wow.
Come on, tell us about the hauntings.
Christ. So he wanted to build an even taller one in Louisville, making it the tallest Jesus statue in the world. And he was dead serious, with a whole plan made up along with a
Can you
conceptual
see
model.
me?
The total cost for the statue would rise to $3 million, with another $10 million for a whole complex of shops and a church. The old sanatorium would be turned into condos, and with donations opened up to the public, Alberhaski ended up only raising $3,000. So obviously the project was canceled. The property would continue to sit abandoned for the next few years, seeing little changes apart from a few outer buildings being demolished. The primary sanatorium would proceed to rot away, surprisingly with little documentation of the state. I could really only find a few photos out there showing it in the state. Ultimately, the property would be sold one last time to Tina and Charlie Mattingly. It was 2001. Had hoped to open it up to the public for tours of the property. The family purchased it for $225,000, and it seemed like they genuinely wanted to preserve the history and restore the structure back to its former glory. But the cost to do that would be monumental, with the Mattingleys stating that a full renovation would be in the ballpark of around $50 million. But Waverly Hills was getting some attention. It was showcased to a national audience when it was featured in a 2001 episode of Scariest Places on Earth. It's definitely very 2000s television, but it perpetuated the long-standing ghost stories that had circulated locally in Louisville. Waverly Hills Sanatorium was now more than just an old hospital. It was now considered one of America's most haunted locations, and the Mattingleys were going to take full advantage of it. By 2003, tours and a seasonal haunted house were set up in the building to help raise funds for the restoration. They continued down this path over.
Now, let me just say, I don't think I'd want to go to the haunted house. I'm not going there to purposely be scared to death. I just want to see if it's real.
For the next couple of years, with the historical foundation they had set up, using the funds to clean up the immediate grounds, install new windows, and implement safety systems to meet local codes. The plan was to keep the first floor the same, turn the second, third, and fourth floors into a bed and breakfast, with the fifth floor hosting a rooftop restaurant. Those plans were ambitious, and it seemed as though they're just
Very ambitious, because now you tour this place as it is. They fixed some of it up, but I'm not going to go through the whole video. But they fixed some of it up, but basically right there is what you tour.
Yeah, you're probably not going to go through the whole video because you don't want to get like struck.
Yeah, I don't want to get struck.
That's crazy though. Yeah, I reckon they renovated some of it, but not the whole thing.
Well,
They made it like safe for people, like cleaning off the mold and stuff like that.
yeah.
Places.
So you got to check the live stream and see if it's good. You always try to check it.
My live stream's fine.
Yeah.
I review cases on here. I mean, commentating makes it fair use. But I have appreciated y'all for coming up. Chico, thank you for coming up. If my cousin's still in the chat somewhere, thank you, Robin, for coming up.
When is your live streams though? One I mentioned. Are they like Monday through Friday though?
No, on Wednesday I've been doing. Normally I try to do a code case at least once a week, and that's never set on a certain time. It's just whatever is put on my heart to do. I've got a whole playlist of my uncle's murder that's on this channel. It's titled Murder in the Mountains. But on Saturdays, we have been doing the YouTuber Survivor House, where we just let the game play, and it's actual real YouTubers on YouTube. Chico is one of those. And then on Wednesday, we do Head of Household with that. But I'm going to get back to doing my code cases. I just had to take a break. I covered the little girl, Elena Hembry, in Middlesboro. And
when you do your code cases, does it mean they get to come up on panel or not?
Well, sometimes I have panel and sometimes I don't.
Okay.
I don't always have panels.
Yep. Yeah.
But I appreciate y'all for coming up. It's been fun. And I look down, I'm like, am I muted again? Wait, no, I'm not muted.
Hey, Crystal, in your next live stream, do you mind if you like give me a mod or something?
I don't know. I can't promise that because I usually know my mods real good. I depend on them.
Okay.
But keep coming back to chat and we'll see. I won't say no, but I won't say yes, because if I say something, I'll do it, and I won't lie to you.
I'll earn it.
Okay.
Well, Crystal, thank you for inviting us. It's been fun. We've enjoyed it.
Thank you
for
all for
inviting me.
coming in.
Thank you for inviting me, and don't forget to subscribe my channel, people.
Okay.
Good stuff.
But
And thank you for inviting me.
you're
Nice.
welcome. But remember, everybody, Wednesday nights, head of household. Saturday night, we do YouTuber Survivor House. And I dropped the link to the Big Bear family. I appreciate them coming up and being on panel with me and taking their time out of their Sunday. And Justin, thank you.
I'll be up on here on Saturday, probably. Probably you'll see me Saturday.
Okay. Well, remember, everybody, it takes zero effort to be a good human being. And until next time, see ya.
Bye.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away, as you fade away.
Yeah, I'm about to fade away, cause every time I wake up I feel like it's Monday. Something's going wrong with all the chemicals up in my brain. All of a sudden I don't look at anything the same way. Gotta build up of my thoughts sitting in an ashtray. I'm sorry that I'm so inconvenient, okay. Just let me be me and I'll stay out of your way. I can see the way you look at me, I'm such a disgrace. I never really asked to be brought into this place. You wanna love me? Well then baby have a taste. All the highs and the lows, no you'll never be the same. I don't really wanna hurt you, but I can't control the pain. If you're sticking by my side, maybe we could be okay. Okay, maybe you could be the change I need today. I promise that I've never felt this way. I really hope that you will choose to stay through all the pain.